Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 7 of the Turning Point podcast. We're up to 7, right?
I'm almost certain we're up to seven.
Well, I'm just going to say 7, and if it's not 7, this is going to be an awkward intro. I,
You
I
know,
looked it up. I looked it up last night, and I was like, I think we've done 7 of these. So, well, we've done 6, so this is 7. So, yeah, it should be right.
it is
That's one.
thematically fitting.
Exactly. That's one way to do the intro. We've fucked it up already. We've been going for 5 seconds. Love it.
Woo.
But yeah, welcome back, everyone. It's been about a month since our last episode.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've all been busy. We've all been doing the things.
when we
My name is.
recorded on May 4th.
When we did a special, yes, we recorded on May 4th. That episode was
Yep.
definitely on May 4th. But yeah, my name is Ben, and I am joined here once again by Lewin. How you doing,
Hello.
my friend?
I'm doing alright. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah, just like I said, being really busy. I've been doing nothing but uni assessments for the past like 3 weeks. Um,
Sounds
it's
like
been
good
been pretty
fun.
crazy. I had to watch a heap of movies.
Oh no, the
Um,
tragedy.
yeah, I had to watch a heap of movies and bullshit a heap of essays. I had like literally it was about 2 weeks ago. I had about 6,500 words worth of essays to write, and they were all due that Sunday, and I hadn't started any of them, so I was like trying to cram them out, and I ended up not doing one of them because I just didn't have time to it, and just for my own sanity, I was like, I'm not trying to cram this in. So I ended up just emailing the tutor and being like, hey, look, I can't do it, whatever, just bullshitted up a reason, and then I got a bit of an extension, did it the next week. Um, but yeah, it was some crazy shit. I watched a heap of foreign sci-fi films, specifically French sci-fi films. So I
Nice.
did that. And then I watched a few horror films. I watched The Babadook, and I watched Insidious, and I rewatched The Conjuring because I was comparing James Wan and Jennifer Kent, the director of The Babadook, both Australian directors. So I was like kind
I
of
did not know James Wan
comparing.
was Australian.
Yeah, he's Malaysian Australian.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's like an Australian citizen. He was born in Malaysia, but he's like an Australian citizen and like grew up in Australia and whatnot. So he is an Australian director. Um, and yes, I was watching some of his movies to write the essay. I actually contacted Tom and I was like, "Hey, look, who are some Australian horror directors?" Because we had to pick like one genre of film and compare a couple of directors, and that's when he told me about the Babadook and that. So, Tom, if you're listening to this, I've finally watched the Babadook, so I know you'll be proud of me for that. That's a fucking good movie too. I really enjoy that movie. But yeah, no, I've just been working on essays and watching a bunch of films and trying to cram in these last minute essays. It's been
Nice.
pretty busy. It's pretty much taken up my entire time, like entire life since I started working on those a few weeks ago. But yeah, been busy, busy, busy. What about you? What have you
Uh,
been up to?
I've had occasional work, 4 hours every week.
That's
Um,
that's it's better than nothing.
yeah, it's money.
You're on
Um,
JobKeep. Are you on
I'm on
JobKeeper? You're on
JobKeeper,
JobKeeper.
yeah,
Yeah. So like you get paid regardless of
pretty much.
you get
It,
paid the same regardless of how much you work.
whether they're telling the truth or not, they're like, yeah, it's for superannuation reasons. I almost don't believe them, but whatever. It's good money for 4 hours a week. I'm not gonna argue against it.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, no, I'm earning like so much more than what I normally would. It's great. I'm quite enjoying it. I'm a bit annoyed that's gonna it's gonna run out in September, and then I'm gonna be back to being broke as shit. So I'm gonna try and buy a PC within the next couple of weeks before tax because I really need a new PC.
Oh yeah,
Because my
expensive as
computer's
well.
just fucked when it comes to editing and things. And yeah, and also another reason why I need to do this is because we're going into a new trimester at uni, right? And this trimester I'm doing post production, and in this post production course we're doing like After Effects and things like that. And I'm
Yeah,
really gonna need something because we're all doing uni from home at the moment, I'm really going to need something with a bit of power to it. So I'll be looking into
Yeah,
that. But my plan is to get it before financial year so I can immediately claim that money back on tax
good
as a
plan.
business expense.
Good
So
plan.
so I'm gonna get it soon. And that'll hopefully be good because most of the money from that has actually come from Centrelink because Centrelink's still paying me even though I'm getting JobKeeper.
Damn, nice.
And the issue with that is that I'm probably gonna have to pay that money back because I don't think they should be paying me.
Right, yes,
So
Centrelink.
yeah, I don't think they should be. It's funny because they didn't at first. They were like not paying me anything for the first few fortnights of JobKeeper, but then like last week I got a payment from them, and then this fortnight I got a payment from them as well. And I'm like, this is odd. Like I shouldn't be getting money from them because I'm getting the JobKeeper. So I put that money aside in an account because I'm like, I know they're gonna ask me to pay this back. Like
Yeah.
100%, that's what's gonna happen. So I'm just leaving it there. But now I'm considering using it to buy a PC, and then when I claim the money back on tax as a business expense, I can just put that money back into the account and then just pay him. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how that goes.
Best of luck to you in that situation.
We'll see. I don't know. I think it's weird they're paying me. Unless, like, it's fine. I don't know. I've been kind of thinking about, like, just because I don't want to get caught out later on having to pay Centrelink back. So I've been kind of thinking about, like, ringing them, being like, hey, guys, like, what are you doing? But then I
Am I
just realized I
doing
don't want to
this?
sit on the. I don't want to do that, but also I don't want to sit on the phone talking to Centrelink at
Yeah,
all.
fresh
So
hell.
I probably won't do that. But we'll see. But I've got other options in terms of getting the PC anyway, so I don't actually have to spend that money necessarily.
Yeah.
So I'll probably just leave it in the account and see what happens come financial year. But yeah, it's great. But yeah, I'm doing that. I've lost the original point. What were we talking about?
I think we were just doing the catch-up segment pretty much.
We haven't even done that yet. I haven't even started. I was just talking about fucking uni assessments. Oh yeah, you said you were at work. How's that been?
It has been chill and easy.
Yeah, yeah. How long have you guys
It's,
been open?
we're not open. It's just us cleaning up the store until we open on the 19th.
What have you got to clean up?
A shit ton of
You've been
arcade games.
closed. You've been closed for like fucking 2 months.
Arcade games gather dust. Not to
Oh
mention, we were
yeah,
really
true.
shit at cleaning the place before it closed.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, best of luck to that,
Thank,
and good luck when it opens back up, and hopefully you're doing well,
thank you. We are
and
down to
hopefully
7 staff members.
nice.
We're not getting
Well,
anybody back, so that's gonna be fresh hell.
how many staff members do you usually have?
20.
20. Jesus. Well, I mean, I suppose you get well. Uh,
We've got four
yeah.
supervisors for 7 days work. Um,
Oofed.
it's
Well,
gonna be good. It's gonna be great.
looks like you guys are going to be hiring, I guess.
Sad thing is, no.
Oh, of course not.
Oh, we're not
Well,
hiring until a while down the line.
yeah, probably fair enough. Well, have fun with that. I'm sure you're going to be doing a lot of work coming up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Well,
great.
that's okay. Maybe yeah, it's fine. It is what it is.
It's
Just
fine.
do your thing.
But yeah, life is what it is.
That's good. Anyway, I reckon we should do the catch-up segment now.
Yeah,
This is
what
going to be a
we
bit of a.
Yep.
This is going to be probably a bit of a shorter episode, mainly just because, which is going to be good. I think. I think it'd be nice just to do a bit more of a chill, just shorter episode.
Yeah,
Um,
we usually go on grand extravaganzas.
yeah, yeah. Like last episode, we talked about Time Lord Victorious for a bit, and I know there's been some news since, but honestly, like, I really don't know. I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about covering Time Lord Victorious news. Like, I don't know. It just depends. It depends on what comes out,
We just keep
and
doing
whether it's
chill
worth
shit. We can
talking
just
about.
chuck it in occasionally.
Yeah, like so
It's
far,
behind the
like right
scenes with
now,
you.
all they've announced is what, like a couple of books.
Yeah, so far, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, great, cool. I'm excited about that, probably. I'm not going to read them, but if there is an audiobook, I will listen to it. So,
There will be free audiobooks, but we will get into that another time.
Exactly. But yeah, like I mean, this it's hardly worth talking about, is it? You know, like it's like a couple of books, you know, and the cover art's pretty cool.
It is.
Great.
There you go,
Yeah.
guys. Time War Victoria stuff done for
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. But yeah, in this episode, we're going to be talking finally, specifically Clone Wars. That's what we're doing this episode. Season 7 came out, has been out for ages, but it wrapped up on Star Wars Day when we recorded our Mandalorian episode. So obviously we couldn't talk about it then. But since then, we have seen Season 7. Lewin has seen all of Clone Wars finally.
Yep, season
Or
3 to season 7. It was quite the binge.
quite the binge, yeah. So, yeah, we got a lot of Clone Wars stuff to talk about. We'll be mainly focusing on Season 7, but, yeah, we might talk a little bit about some other things as well.
Got a little bit of overall thoughts.
Yep, and also we'll be finally reviewing the Resident Evil 3 remake. And when I say reviewing it, I mean we'll probably just casually talk about it for a few minutes. Mainly because we've already kind of reviewed it. Sort of. You gave your first impressions after playing the game, what, like
Oh
three
yeah, that's
times?
right. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, so to avoid and look, I can't remember most of what you said in that. Like that was like episodes ago now, but
This is
if
mostly
you want to
your
listen
show for this one.
yeah, if you want to listen to Lewin's first impressions, then you can go back and listen to that. I believe it's in the Scott Pilgrim episode.
Game is good,
Um,
voice acting good. Yes.
yeah, but we will be briefly talking about that because I finally caught up and played it. As you guys may know, if you've been listening since the start, playing the Resident Evil remakes has been the ongoing saga on this podcast, specifically in the catch up segment. But you know, a couple of episodes ago, I finished Resi 2, and then I finally started playing Resi 3, and now I finally finished that. So we've got some things to
This is
talk about.
such a
So
chill podcast. Just,
it's
just,
been
been, just,
it's
just
been
kind of the flow of things over the past 6 months has been really chill in the way we talk about it.
Yeah, it's been great, you know. But yeah, that's great. I'm actually gonna do a little podcast promo at the start of my Eternity Clock video.
Nice. Get
Just
some,
because,
get some of
yeah,
that
just
Doctor
because,
Who revenue.
yeah, no, just because I want to try and get more people because a lot of people watch like my bigger videos or whatever, but they might not watch the rest of the stuff I do. So I want to try and get people to come towards the podcast a bit. So, you know, I'm trying to think of ways to do that. So I'm thinking of now starting to actually go out of my way to advertise the podcast in
That's
my
usually a
videos.
good plan.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be
We
advertising
advertise
it.
your other videos here. It's probably a good idea to
Yeah,
advertise
no, we
the
advertise
podcast.
my own channel here. I might as well advertise the podcast, which is also on my own channel. It's very like meta. It's great. But yeah, so I'm doing that. So I was going to talk a little bit of, like it's just a brief little thing at the start of the Doctor Who video, but yeah, it's going to be great. I would kind of just briefly mention the kind of stuff we talk about on there. There's a little joke about how I'm self-promoting in my own video. It's great. I can't wait to record it.
This is sponsored material.
That's basically what the intro is, kind of. It's not really. I don't use the word sponsored because it's not, but I'm like, you know,
Are we now sponsored by Master Exploser 2.0?
we are. I'm gonna be changing my channel name soon. I still have. I haven't revealed what it is yet.
This
I'm
would be
actually probably
amazing.
waiting until after I upload the Eternity Clock video before I do it. But yeah, there's a new channel name coming, so
Joke will
get
now
excited
be
for that.
a bygone joke of a bygone era. I fucked that sentence completely, but we know what I was going for.
I actually have no idea what you were trying to say
It,
there.
that joke about the name or the sponsorship will now be a joke for bygone era.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm still waiting for Raid Shadow Legends to sponsor us, so, you know, we did
Yeah,
a whole
whenever the
review on
fuck
it.
that's happening.
Yeah. Come on, guys, get on it. Um,
Now
but
sponsored
yeah,
by Raycon.
do you know what I was thinking, though? We could keep the running gag of us reviewing the Joker going until, like, how do you feel about actually legit reviewing the Joker on the first year anniversary of that film's release?
What is that?
Later in the year sometime.
Fair. Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
down for that.
yeah, cool. Well, I
What
mean,
gag? We just conveniently always run out of time.
Exactly. It's not a running gag. I don't know. We'll see if I remember that, but it depends on what else. Because obviously, like the last couple of months, I've been trying to fill this podcast with various different things. We started our kind of Edgar Wright run through, which now in retrospect seems kind of pointless because his film's coming out next year now.
So
So
yeah, next year will be Edgar Wright year. Get ready for that.
no, we'll keep it going. But it kind of gives us the opportunity to spread them out a bit now as well.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to fit them in between, when we started and when the film was eventually meant to come out. But coming up to July, things are going to start progressing again. We've got a few games coming out. Obviously, we've got Last of
Yep.
Us 2 coming up. Which we will be talking about at some point. And then after that, we're going to have some more game releases. We've got Cyberpunk, we've got fucking Avengers, whatever else is coming out
Thankfully,
later in
the
the
video
year.
game industry was not hit nearly as hard as the
Yeah,
movie
so
industry.
we've got that stuff coming out, but we also have some movies coming out. Christopher
Tenet is
Nolan's
coming out.
going to be the
Yes,
first film that gets
I am
released
so hyped for that movie.
post COVID. And then, of course, come I think September, we have Black Widow coming out, and then a lot of the stuff that was basically set to come out in the first part of the year is now coming out at the end of the year. And of course, there was a bit of a rumor going around for a while that No Time to Die was going to be delayed until like April next year, but nothing's really come of that. I think it was just a little bit of a rumor going around. So that's
It's
going to be
still in
coming out.
November?
Still in November, yeah.
Cool.
So that's coming out, and of course, all the TV shows will start to come back. We might actually get some news of what this Doctor Who special is going to be. Who
You know,
knows?
God, I completely fucking forgot about that.
I mean, they've shot it ages ago, but there's been no word on it at all. Like
Yeah,
because they shot it with Series 12, and it's like, is it a Christmas special? Is it a New Year's special? Is it even coming out this year? Who fucking knows? It's gonna be crazy, but that's what's it called? Revolution of the Daleks? Is that what it's
yes,
called?
that is it.
Oh, good. That was a stab in the dark. I got that right. Yes. Haha. Nice. But yeah, so things are going to start picking up hopefully from July onwards. So there's only another couple of months of trying to figure out what to do on this podcast left, and then hopefully we'll start actually having content to actually make. We'll see what happens.
We got some backup plans if things don't go fully to plan.
Sure, let's go with that. I mean, well, the backup plans we've done, apart from two things that we haven't done yet. But yeah, I was thinking so we could definitely spread out the Scott Pilgrim stuff, and then maybe
Scott Pilgrim stuff.
Scott Pilgrim stuff. Yeah, we'll do more episodes on Scott Pilgrim. The Edgar Wright films, we can spread that out, and then I know at one point I want to do a bit of a Daniel Craig Bond
I
episode.
was gonna actually bring that up since we were talking
Yeah.
about No Time to Die. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if we will do like with the Edgar Wright films where we'll go through each film. I think we might just do one episode on it, but
yeah,
we'll see what happens. But yeah, so anyway, catch up. Yeah, it's
catch
time
up.
for our famous catch up segment.
What,
And what have you been up to lately? What have you been playing, watching, doing?
well,
Besides, your brief bit of working.
as you so helpfully pointed out to me in the creepiest way possible, by saying that you were watching me. Um,
I'm always watching you.
thank you. I need the added security.
I'm watching you
I
right now,
definitely,
actually.
fuck's sake. I've been Assassin's Creed Chronicles. Um,
Sorry, can you just go over that again?
I've been playing Assassin's Creed Chronicles.
Yeah, you've been
Which
playing. Have you been playing all of them, or just the? Because I think the one
I
I saw
did
you playing on PSN was China.
yeah, I replayed China to get all the stuff, and then I played India, then Russia. Played those a couple
Yeah.
of times. The game, I won't lie. If it was an Assassin's Creed, I might actually be okay with it, but it's a shit game. China is terrible. India gets better near the end half, and I just like Russia in general, but none of them are great.
China is like the one fucking thing that people have wanted as a mainline
China and
Assassin's Creed
feudal
game
Japan.
since Assassin's Creed 2, and they're just like, lol, nah, we're just gonna put it to this side game. Um,
5D fucking side scroller. Have fun with
yeah.
that.
But it was actually cool because like it's one of the rare Assassin's Creed games that contains a female protagonist, which is
This is
interesting.
true. One of
Um,
three.
yeah, look, let's just pretend Odyssey doesn't exist. Um, because
One
you've
of three
got,
then.
well, no, so there's Evie Fry. There's Xiao. What's her name? Xiao Jun.
Belgium.
Xiao Jun in I
Yeah.
don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
Who
yeah, you
cares?
got it right.
Fucking that bitch. There's her, and then there's also oh crap, what's her name? What's her name? From Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation.
Oh, Aveline.
Aveline, that's it. Yeah, there's them. So there's like those, and then of course you have bloody Cassandra as well. I guess in
And
Assassin's Creed
Layla, I
Origins.
guess. But, uh,
Yeah, but Layla's like the modern day. I'm talking about like the main like thing. So
gotcha.
there is a few, but the only one of them I've played is I have all of them, but the only one I've played is Assassin's Creed Chronicles China because I actually have a press copy of it from back when I was writing video game reviews, which you can still find online, weirdly. Um, but I actually got a press copy of that to review. And I believe I gave it a positive review, actually, because I quite enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun playing that game. I had issues with it, but not like issues that ruined the experience for me. I quite enjoyed it, and I was meant to review the other two, but then I just kind of was busy at the time and wasn't able to review the other two, so I didn't do them. But I got a free copy of that game, and then I bought the other ones, I think, on sale on PSN a couple of years ago, and I haven't played them.
Fair.
Yeah.
Other than that, I hit my 100th platinum. Um,
100 platinums. Jeez, that's
yep.
dedication.
And my 100 platinum was actually Assassin's Creed 2, which
Nice.
coincidentally enough was also my first platinum.
Oh,
So
wow.
I I did
It's like
some
full circle.
full circle shit. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a nice thematic thing going on there.
yeah. It was
That's
originally
nice.
going to be Max Payne 3, and then I
Oh,
realized that the grind for that would destroy my soul when I only had two platinums left. So I was like, "Yep, nope, fuck that. I'm just gonna go for some nice thematic imagery here," and I did it.
yeah. I have two platinums, and I don't know what they're for. I know one of them is the easiest platinum you could possibly get, and that's just finishing The Walking Dead season
Nice,
1.
good game.
Um, but I don't know what the other one is. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure I've got two. See, I'm not someone who cares about trophies. I mean, I don't know if I've said this before, but I genuinely do not give a shit about trophies. So
That's fair.
I don't go out of my way to go for them. Um and like look, it's nothing against people who want to get those like,
They
cuz
usually
obviously
help me experience a game to its fullest, so that's kind of why I like them. Just like
yeah,
I don't actively go out for 100%, but if a trophy's there, I'm like, okay, I can
there's
push
two
towards
games I've
this.
tried to do that with. I was tempted to do it with Rise of the Tomb Raider and also again with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and both times I've just been like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to do this.
That's
I don't
fair.
need to do this at all. So I've just
Tis
never
not
bothered
for
doing it.
everyone.
Yeah, but I mean, I get trophies. I'm like, wow, look at that! It's a trophy. Great. One of the trophies for Rise of the Tomb Raider I remember is you have because there's like this area, this like village area, right? And there's these chickens there, and one of the trophies is you have to throw the chicken into the air and then hit it with either a flaming arrow or just an ordinary arrow,
Okay.
and you have to do that like 3 times. And I was like, I'm not doing that. What the fuck is that? What kind of trophy is that? That is just stupid. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I just never bothered doing it. And I was tempted um, with Shadow as well, because I actually looked through Shadow's trophies, and honestly, Shadow's trophies were actually quite achievable, like really easy. Even like the like gold ones and stuff were quite achievable, but I was just like, as soon as the DLC start coming out and adding more trophies, I was like, I'm not doing this. It's too much work. I don't want to play. I've played Shadow of the Tomb Raider multiple times. I think in my video I said I've done it like about 5 times now, but I don't want to. I don't care about the trophies. That's
Yeah,
just me personally.
that's probably fair.
Yeah, I've never understood the need that some gamers have to go for trophies, but good for them, and I'm glad when you finally hit your platinum that you do it. Good on yous. I don't understand it, but good on yous.
It's just a fun little thing you can do. Keeps me
Exactly. Yeah.
starting new games, hence why my backlog is so full.
Yeah, no, I've got quite a big backlog. I do intend on playing Red Dead Redemption 2 at some point. I don't own it, haven't bought it, probably never gonna buy it, but it's on the list to play at some point. Um, I don't know, just for me, like playing games is one of those things. Like I'm kind of at the point right now where if a game is big or if it's like open world or that kind of thing, I just immediately lose interest in it. Like I just don't care. The exception for that is going to be Cyberpunk, because I'm actually really keen for that game. But I don't know, like every time a game's released and I'm just like, oh yeah, I don't want to play that. I
Fair
just
enough.
it's not, I don't know. I like, and this is why I liked playing Resi 2 and 3, because I just want those just linear games.
Linear story games, they're good.
Yeah, that's why, like, I mean, everyone was complaining about the length of Resi 3, and we'll talk about it in the review, but, like, my main thing was, I'm fine with that length. I don't give a
Yeah,
shit.
so
This
was
was
I.
so much better for me. I'm way too busy to be pouring hours and hours into the same fucking game. Like, that's why I didn't bother playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, not just because of
That
that, but
game is stupidly big.
yeah, and not just because of that, but it's really like just looking at videos for that game. Like, one, I wasn't interested in it because it's not an Assassin's Creed game. I don't care how much you put Assassin's Creed on the title, it's not an Assassin's Creed game. And two, I just looked at that world and I was like, it's really big, but also it's just copy and paste. Like, I've watched a lot of videos on that game because, like, I wanted to kind of experience it in some form, just because I was like, I do like the setting and stuff. But I was just looking at that open world and I'm like, this is fucking dead. Like, why is this big? And I don't know, I just don't like the last big open world game I played besides The Witcher was Horizon Zero Dawn. And I loved that game, by the way, but I have no interest in playing those games anymore, which is why I didn't play Red Dead, even though I wanted to, because I loved the first game, but I was just like, I don't have time.
Fair enough.
Cyberpunk's going to be... But I did finish Witcher 3, and I want to finish the DLC for Witcher 3, so that's on my to-do list. And I really do enjoy The Witcher 3, but I found myself, when I was kind of getting really pushing to finish that game, I was exploring less and less because I didn't care anymore. I just wanted to finish the game.
Oh yeah, that happens in every open world game. At least for me, it does.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just sick of it. Like, just give me games. Like, give me games that I can finish in, like, anywhere between 5 to 20 hours. It's done. I can replay it again if I want to. Like, that's a good thing about Resi is you've got that replay value with the Resident Evil games. So I'm excited to play more of those simply because that's appealing to me right now. But big
Yeah,
open world games, I just don't care. I'm so over it.
they became a bit mainstream and unneeded.
Yeah, I mean, this
Same
has been
problem like
building
the
up for...
Witcher, but
Yeah, and this has been building up for me for years. Like, I used to really enjoy them, but I think just over time, like, I've kind of reached this point in life now where I'm just way too busy to be able to invest. Like, I mean, I don't know if yeah, I played an hour and a half of Skyrim. All right, never played that game, by the way. I bought it on PS4, played an hour and a half, and went, nope, not doing this. And I reckon if I played Skyrim back when it came out, I probably would have played the shit out of that game. But just coming back to it and coming to play it years later. I think this was in 2018, I think. Just coming back to play it, I was just like, I do not have the time for this, and I'm already playing The Witcher. I do not need this on top of that. So I just never played it, and I'm never going to. Nothing against the game. I liked the hour and a half that I played, but it's just too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my rant
What
about open world games.
what have you been up to? Let's go
Okay, so
segment.
I've been playing a bit of Siege. Still been playing a bit of that since the last
Cool.
episode. I'm really enjoying that. I was, what was I trying to do? I was gonna try and play oh, well, I was gonna try and play some Overwatch in that, but the games need updating, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll update it. I still haven't updated yet. They're sitting in my paws. I did play a bit of Sims. I played some
Sims
Sims
4?
4 for a bit.
Nice.
I played it for about 3 days, and then got bored very quickly.
It happens.
The main reason is because I played it a lot over the course of those 3 or 4 days. By the way, like a hell of a
Oh,
lot.
I know.
But
I have Sims 4 as well. I've gone through that exact process of, oh, let's play Sims. I'm gonna make a new Sim, and then I make a new Sim, go through their entire life, and I'm like, I'm done. And
yeah,
then like
well,
maybe take a few months.
I achieved like multiple goals for my Sims, and I was like, I could change like what their things are, but I'm also like, I don't care. But my sim did get a cute girlfriend, and I was really happy about their little relationship. And then they got married, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cute." I was still living in the base house. Like I had done nothing to the base house beyond add what things I needed for my sim to progress. I hadn't bought any other places. I was just like, I don't care enough to do this. I just want to achieve some shit and try it out.
Well,
But yeah,
we're done.
I played that for about 4 or 5 days, and yeah, it's great, but it's not for me, I don't think. I enjoyed that few days, but I kind of just got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is just too much. So I actually
I'm having
uninstalled the
trouble
game.
managing my own life. Don't make me manage yours too.
Exactly. I'm having way too much. I'm struggling as it is. I do not need this on top of it. So yeah, I got rid of that. But another thing I've been doing is I've been watching Community on Netflix. That came out on Netflix recently, actually.
Yes, it did. I may finally watch it. Is it good?
I smashed through all 6 seasons very quickly in the space of about a week and a bit. I put it on to start out like doing while I was doing uni assessments, and then I just kind of got obsessed with it. But it's a really good show.
Okay.
Really good show. I love it so much. So, you said you've seen the first few episodes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the show just gets really ridiculous, but like in a good way. So obviously, for those who don't know, the premise of the show is basically so season 1 kind of starts out, the protagonist of the show is Jeff Winger, played by Joel McHale, and he kind of starts out as the main character of the show, but as the show kind of progresses, they all become the main characters, and episodes will focus on different characters and stuff. But like you can really tell for those first few episodes of the first season that it's all focused on Jeff Winger as a character. But he's basically like this disgraced lawyer who is forced to get a real law degree at this college, and then he basically meets all these other characters, and they form a study group, and that's the basis of the show, right? That's just pretty much what that show is for the first 4 seasons.
Okay.
It's a great cast. Like, even in the first few episodes, you really see, like, it's a great cast. They've got really good bunch of actors, really good characters, I feel, that kind of really work well with each other in terms of creating kind of drama between the characters, but also kind of, you get the sense that these characters, they just fit. You know what I mean? Like,
I get you.
they just work.
They all complement each other quite well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so the show's set in this fictional, it's set in community, I don't know, what's it, Greendale College, that's what it's called. And yeah, it's just a bunch of various different characters. There's my favorite character, there's a couple of good characters, but like in terms of the cast, you've got like Donald Glover in there, and there's like Alison Brie and Gillian Jacobs and Chevy Chase, who plays Pierce, who's like the old like I mean, not really a character for our current times, but um,
He
he's
has
like
some
that old.
opinions that may
Yeah,
not
he's
fit in with modern society.
he's like that old, like racist, sexist kind of character. But his character is really good. Like I will say, like they've written him really well. He really works in season one, and then kind of post season one, he starts to become, I guess, a bit of a joke. Um, there's also this great teacher. There's Senor Chang, who is in season one. He's a Spanish teacher,
Yeah,
and I really love his character so much. In fact, my favorite thing about that character is, the "ha gay" meme.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I never knew where that came from. And I was watching season two of Community because basically what happens is Chang is a fraud. He doesn't really know Spanish. He's just teaching it. Like he's a fraud. He got in at this college and to teach Spanish. That's basically what happens. And so he becomes a student in season two. And Chang's a character that they change up pretty much every season. But in season two, he becomes a student. And then, yeah, during one of the class projects where Betty White is the teacher, by the way,
That
it's
is
amazing.
great.
But during season two, yeah, like Jeff Wing is saying something and then he's just like, ha, gay. And I was like, hey, I know where that comes from now. So that's
Leonardo
a thing.
DiCaprio pointing meme.
Yeah, exactly. But what's great about that show is the character development over the course of the seasons. A lot of these characters change. Like Troy's character, Donald Glover's character, he kind of starts out as this jock kind of character, but yeah, as kind of the seasons progress, or not even the season, as the first season progress, the writers realized that him and Abed make a good like duo. So they
Yeah,
started writing Donald Glover's character to be a bit more of a nerd, a bit more of a geek. Like he's still like cool and stuff, but he's not like that jock stereotype character like he kind of starts out as. And anyway, the show starts to become very meta and very self-aware as it goes on. But it's really great. So what they do is during the first season, there's like this. It's kind of running through as this typical sitcom until it gets to the paintball war episode,
I've heard
and
of
then
this episode.
yeah, and then basically that episode's done up like an action movie. And you can definitely see because this show was also produced by the Russo brothers
Yep.
as well. And you can definitely see the Russo brothers across the first three seasons of the show quite a bit. They come back again later to do season five, but those first few seasons, their fingerprints are all over it. And I can't remember which one of the Russo brothers directed the Paintball Wars episode, but you can definitely see a lot of that early stuff that they later incorporated into Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Because they left the show after season three to go off and do The Winter Soldier. So, yeah, but it's basically from that point onwards. So it's done up like this. I guess it's like this like apocalyptic type episode. Like this wasteland. Like Jeff wakes up in his car from a nap and the whole school has turned to shit. There's just like paint everywhere, everything's all torn, and he's walking through the school and just all the characters are, done up and they're just in this big paintball war. But that was kind of the start of it. And then from there, the show just gets more ridiculous and more meta as it goes on. You'll like this. There's actually a fictional show in that universe called Inspector Spacetime, which is a
Yeah,
sci-fi show, British sci-fi show that's been going for more than 50 years about this
man.
inspector that travels in a phone box.
Man, even when we don't purposely talk about it, it shows up something. Fun fact,
Um,
shout out to the one commenter in that one podcast episode. I saw the name Inspector Space Time like an hour ago when I was going through one of our podcast comment sections. That just
um,
came full circle. Nice.
yeah, but it's great. So we had that. So that's in the show. But yeah, it starts to become very meta, and they start kind of like parodying different kind of genres, and they really start doing more genre focused episodes. So in like season 2, they have what do they have? They have a stop motion animated episode, which is really cool. They actually do documentary episodes, which you probably already have seen one of them, because there is a documentary episode in the first few episodes of season 1. But they start doing more of that. There's these episodes where they build like pillow forts and blanket forts across the whole campus. There's actually a war documentary episode, which is done up like those World War II documentaries, but it's about a conflict between Troy and Abed, and like two sides of the campus. There's the pillow fort campus side and the blanket fort campus side. So it's done up like one of those World War II documentaries
Nice.
to document that conflict. In season and then at the end of season 2, they have a 2-parter paintball episode. The first part is a western episode, and then the second part is a Star Wars episode, right down to the point where like there's this opposing paintball force that joins the game, and they're all dressed in black and white paintball gear, and they're like stormtroopers. It's great. And then as the show goes on, yeah, it just gets more ridiculous, more meta. Like Troy and Abed have, if you've seen like a lot of the old Star Treks, like Star Trek Next Generation, that you'll know they have like the holodeck.
Yep.
So Troy and Abed have a holodeck in their apartment. They call it the Dream Emporium, and it's where they go to like make believe shit. So they actually have a whole episode between Annie and Abed in that, and they actually play like characters in Inspector Space Time and stuff. And then that whole episode is about them kind of simulating various events happening to the real
Is
in
that
real
where the
life and stuff.
darkest timeline meme comes from?
So the darkest timeline in Community comes from an episode which is the best episode of the show. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically an episode where they go to Troy and Abed's apartment for like a housewarming. It's very early on in season 3. I think it's within the first 5-6 episodes of season 3. So everyone's there, and basically they play a game of Yahtzee, right?
Okay.
And well, they're about to play a game of Yahtzee, but then the pizza arrives, and so Jeff picks up the dice, and there's 7 of them around the table, and Jeff picks up the dice and is like, all right, so he throws the dice in the air, and he's like, so starting from my left, if your number comes up, you go and get the dice. And then Abed's like, you do realize you are now creating 6 different timelines, and he's just like, of course I am, and then throws the dice. So then the whole premise of that episode is it goes through each of the 6 different timelines, as well as the prime timeline, and so we get to see all these different events play out. But a lot of each of the timelines are very similar, so there's a lot of running gags, but it's a really well written episode because things that are set up in the earlier timelines are paid off in later timelines. And anyway, one of those timelines is the darkest timeline, and it's where all the evil versions of the characters come from in later seasons. They come from the darkest timeline.
Okay.
It's a great episode. Like, I would recommend just watching that episode because it's amazing. It's so well written, and there's a lot of like continuous gags and stuff in that episode. It's really good. But yeah, the darkest timeline is where everything turns to shit, and then
Good
at
way
the
to
end,
start this timeline. That's great.
yeah, and then at the end of the episode, there's like this little bonus episode, like end of the episode stinger, and it's just them sitting at the study group table in the darkest timeline, and Abed's just like they're all like, everything has turned to shit. Jeff's lost an arm. Pierce is dead. Annie has been locked in a mental asylum. All of this stuff. And then Abed's just like, the only bad thing that's happened to Britta is that she's got a blue streak in her hair now because she's, I don't know. But anyway, Abed suggests that he's cutting out these felt goatees. And he suggests they all stick them on until they can grow real goatees, and they suggest they become evil versions of themselves, and their mission is to find a way into the prime timeline and take over their lives. Okay. And that's originally started out as a joke, but then that actually becomes a plot point in season 4.
Okay.
It actually becomes a thing that happens. It's great. But that is the best episode. And then yeah, they just keep parroting things like there's a 2-bit no, sorry, there's an 8-bit video game episode which is all set in a video game with the characters, so the whole thing just looks like a, a 90s, 80s 90s like side scrolling game. Yep.
Okay.
Complete with 8-bit soundtrack. There's a Christmas musical episode which has a pretty cool rap between Donald Glover's character and Abed. There's like a rap sequence in that. There's a Muppet episode where they're like little puppets. There's a lot of stuff. I would say though the show does go downhill a bit after season 5, because by the time
by Yahoo or something.
that was season 6. Season 5 still pretty good for the most part, but that's when like the cast members start leaving the show. So Pierce isn't in season 5 beyond a brief cameo, and then Donald Glover's character leaves after 5 episodes. So the rest of the season's a bit like it's okay. And then then there's the Yahoo season, which is season 6, and honestly I don't think season 6 is very good. I still think there's some cool episodes in it, but overall it really, because a lot of the cast have left and they've replaced them with other characters, it really doesn't work as well. But what's really interesting about those final few seasons is each final episode is being written as if it would be the final episode of the show. But it also gets a bit ridiculous because they have to, after the 4th season, they have to find a way to keep them all there in the college, because by that point they would have all graduated. So they have to like find an excuse to keep them there. So Jeff kind of becomes a teacher of law. And then it's just, it's a bit shit, to be honest.
Well, if anyone's convinced me to watch the show, you've done far better than anyone else I know. So
it's so good. Like, there's just so many ridiculous episodes. It's amazing. And it's very, because Abed he always refers to everything as a film. So there's like lines of dialogue in the later seasons referring back to season 1 or whatever. And he actually says, like back in season 1 in the show, as if he's referring to when they met or whatever. So he actually refers to the show. So it's like Abed's been written as a character that knows he's in a TV show, kind of. It's really great.
Okay.
I'd recommend watching it. But yeah, I smashed through that show. There's meant to be a movie coming at some point, hopefully. Because there was this whole thing in the show of 6 seasons in a movie.
Yep.
And they've done 6 seasons, and a movie should be coming hopefully at some point. They're still, like, the Russo brothers, I think Anthony Russo or whatever, was saying that it's still probably going to happen, just it's a matter of when. But I hope it happens. That'll be kind of cool to get a Community movie to kind of wrap it all up. And the cast is all on board for it, because they recently did a live table read.
Yeah.
With Pedro Pascal as well. Pedro Pascal was there. And they kept making Mandalorian jokes. But yeah, that was really good. But I was watching that episode, and it was funny because it's a script read of an episode from season 5, and Pedro Pascal is playing. He's playing this character, and he's really struggling to read one of the lines because it's so hilarious. There's like this whole section of the thing where like there's this just repeating joke that eventually really pays off in a big way, and he's just breaking character the whole time, really struggling with it. It's great.
Okay.
But it's a good show. I recommend watching it. It's all on Netflix, so
Okay. Yeah, no, I will once I'm finished with Brooklyn Nine-Nine for the 4th time, I will hit that up.
Yeah, I think it's definitely right up there with my favorite sitcoms, alongside with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I think.
What was next on our... Next, I believe, was...
do you know what else I've been doing?
What else have you been doing?
I've been playing Resident Evil 3. I actually finished it.
That's what was next. There we go. This episode has... We said we would talk about Clone Wars. Let's,
We're getting there.
This is the shit episode more than anything.
It's just a chill episode, man.
Yeah, we're
just relaxing, we're just chilling.
Than we normally do.
But yeah, so I played Resident Evil 3 finally. I finished that. As I said earlier on, Look, I have a lot of mixed thoughts on it. I don't think it's bad. I actually really enjoyed playing it.
Yeah.
I actually had quite a good time playing it. I thought it was a really good game. Again, it's nice and short, which was, again, like I was explaining earlier, it's something that I like. You know, I just give me a nice short experience. In terms of, yeah, comparing it to RE2 Make, which is the only other, besides RE5, the only other Resident Evil I've played, I think I like Resident Evil 2 better. I think for me personally, I really like the atmosphere and kind of, I guess, like the tone of Resident Evil 2,
Resident Evil
where
2 is more of a thriller horror. Resident Evil
yeah,
3 is
well,
more of an action horror.
yeah, and I'm not saying that's bad. Like I actually really enjoyed Resident Evil 3 a lot, but I don't know. I think I just preferred RE2 a lot more. Like I don't know. Like I was playing through Resident Evil 3, and I just kept thinking, fuck, the RPD is such a good, you know, part of Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
It's so good. Like every time I played as the characters getting into the RPD and having Mr. X chase me, it's so great. And I was kind of waiting for something like that in this game because for me, I found Nemesis more of an annoyance than anything else.
Yeah.
Playing that early section of the game where Nemesis is actually kind of there beyond that scripted cutscene stuff and boss battles, and I kind of found him in a bit of an annoyance. I don't
Nemesis,
know.
to
I
me,
just
was
it
probably the
didn't work for
largest
me.
letdown of the game.
Yeah, I enjoyed his boss battles actually, but I think the bit where he like chases you around that little area of Raccoon City, you know, like that bit where it's like this game's version of Mr. X.
Yeah.
You know, I just where I really liked Mr. X because I think Mr. X really works. You know, like you hear his footsteps around the RPD. You know,
Mm.
sometimes you're not quite sure where he is, so you
He's
might be
not
just doing
in
your
your
thing and he just
face.
pops
He's
out. Yeah, I just Nemesis was constantly at you, and I've even seen footage. Nemesis can go into the save rooms as well,
can he? I don't think
but he
he.
can't. Yeah, well, he can go into the save rooms, but like he can't go into that one random shop. So it's like, what?
Where he's staring at you through the window.
Yeah, but no, I've seen some footage from some Resident Evil YouTubers of him actually in that safe room that's there near the fire hydrant.
Okay.
But I don't know. It didn't work for me. And as another part that didn't work for me as well was that on rail segment where he's got the rocket launcher. And then that kind of goes through its whole scripted piece. But then at the end, you've got to run, you know, you've got to go dodge the big ass fucking head that rolls down the thing, which I thought was ridiculous, by the way. Not ridiculous in a bad way, I mean ridiculous as in, you know, whatever. I was like, this is pretty silly. It's great. I love it. And that's one thing I do actually like about Resi 3 is I like how silly it is compared to 2, which is a much more serious game.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's like that bit you can actually like I know in that bit you can actually fight Nemesis with the rocket launcher and you can actually get a weapons pack. But I was just like, yeah, nah, I don't care. Fuck off. Leave me alone, Nemi. I don't care. So I don't know. That early bit of the game really didn't work for me personally. But I think once we hit kind of the RPD again and kind of the game started moving towards the hospital and kind of went on from there, that's when I started actually enjoying the game a lot more. I really liked... I actually really liked playing as Carlos in the hospital. I thought that was a
I
really nice segment of the game.
I like it's weirdly enough one of the main areas where they I think it's the only area. No, wait, in the nest they also do it. In the harder modes like hardcore and the insanity or whatever it is. It's
Mm.
the only area where they change up the level like the enemy placement.
Mm.
So
I
instead
don't know,
of
like...
4 enemies in that hospital reception, you have one licker, which funnily enough makes it 10 times easier.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was playing through it, and I only played it on normal. So like, I mean, I was just I haven't played the harder
Catch
modes.
play.
Although I really want to go back and play. I think the more difficult modes of both games. I think, but I don't know. I was just kind of going like the hospital, like, and the RPD where you play as Carlos the first time was really cool. I just enjoyed being in that space again.
Yeah.
But the hospital bit was where it actually started to like. And again, I'm not an expert. Okay, like I'm not an expert on Resident Evil. We've made this very clear. But for me, it started to feel more like what I wanted from the game,
Jeez, man,
rather
don't
than
make comments like this before you play the rest of the series,
yeah,
okay?
exactly. Yeah, I know the Resident Evil games are really silly. I'm aware of this, but like I don't know, that one little bit was really nice. I really enjoyed it.
The hospital is a fun little segment.
Yeah. And I actually really liked the Nemesis boss fights as well. Apart
They
from the
were,
last one, but
I
the last one, the final one.
I
I'll get into
think,
that in a sec,
yeah, fair enough. I'll let
but
you get to that before I
I
move on.
did like that Resident Evil. I did like that middle bit. Like I liked the boss fight where you're on top of the fucking building and he's just got the rocket launcher and he's just like chasing you around and you got to defeat him. I thought that was fun. I really love the following boss fight out the front of the clock tower where he's just like running around and you got to keep, like shooting him and whatever.
Which
That
is
was
this
cool.
one?
Yeah, I love that cutscene. It's amazing. Just seeing a fiery nemesis fall in, having that little line, and then just having this big fuck off,
Fish
monster
dog
jumping
thing.
out. It's great. I don't have much to say about the clock tower because, like, I know a lot
It
of like
doesn't
classic
exist in
RE3
the
fans
remake.
have issues with that. I don't have anything to say about it because I haven't played the original.
Likewise.
So, but I do think it could have been cool because I think it could have added a bit of, you could easily add an extra hour to the game by
I think
putting
they
in
could have done having
something.
Carlos go get Jill, because
Yeah.
Carlos's segments feel weirdly like they're missing something.
Yeah, the one bit I didn't like in the color segment was the bit where like you're just standing there fighting off hordes of zombies.
Oh, the end
Um,
hospital part.
yeah, I wasn't a fan of that.
It
But I did I
completely puts a
actually
grind in the gameplay. Like,
yeah.
if you're a speedrun, which
I
I'm not, but it's nice to keep a flow, and that just stops the flow.
Yeah, I did also like the following bit in the hospital with Jill, where you essentially just go and collect all the things that you couldn't do as
Yeah,
Carlos. That was cool. And then that kind of leads in, and then yeah, I like the entire last part of the game. The final Nemesis boss fight, I really enjoyed. I thought that was a lot of fun.
the one in the pit, in the
The one in the pit, yeah. So not the final one, the second to last Nemesis boss fight. Um, and I actually really liked the nest as well. I thought the nest was really cool little level. I don't think it's as good as the nest in RE2, but I think it's still quite
I don't like its
nice to go.
design compared to Nest 2. Nest 2
Yeah,
feels much more hodgepodge, totally bad guy trying to do this in secret, whereas 3's like
yeah,
professional.
yeah. But that was cool, and I liked the little zombies that could like regenerate. I thought that was kind of fun.
Oh,
Um,
whiteheads, fuck them.
yeah, and I absolutely love that cutscene where you're with what's his name, the other not Carlos, the other guy. You're with him.
Nikolai or Mikhail?
No, not Nikolai. The
Alden?
other one, the one that's
Tyrell?
with Carlos the whole time, Tyrell. Yeah,
I like
and
Tyrell.
I love that bit where you're like in the tour and then just Nemesis comes and absolutely wrecks him,
I was
and I'm just
okay.
like, oh, rip
The game
Tyrell,
gave
fuck.
me a bullshit sense of hope, where I was like, okay, Tyrell's dead after the hospital, and then he shows up at the fucking nest. I'm like,
Yeah,
is he gonna make it through the game? And then,
yeah. I for sure
well,
thought he was gonna turn into a zombie.
yeah, because the game gets really slow in that one hallway between the training segment and the rest of Nest, where it forces
Yeah,
you to walk with him, and he runs off ahead. I'm like, what's it doing? Is he gonna
yeah. It's
turn
gonna
while
do
I'm on my
something.
way there? And then nothing
That's
happened.
what I thought was gonna happen. I legitimately was like, "This is gonna happen any second now. I'm gonna have to kill him." And then, nah, Nemesis just wrecks him instead, which is fine. It's a cool
I was
cutscene.
like,
I
it
will
gave
say,
me like 5 seconds of hope of he survived in the hallway. That was obviously the setup. And then no,
Yeah.
you're right. Nemesis just like you're. I'm a dogfish. I'm gonna eat you.
I'm a dogfish. No, that's great. But I do like I actually do like that section beforehand where you have to like find all the power conduits to get up to where Nikolai is.
It's an
That's
interesting
a really
one.
cool little level. I like that. But then yeah, you get to the boss fight, and my favorite thing about the boss fight, oh, we haven't even talked about the sewers. I actually really liked the sewers.
Uh,
Sewers were fun.
I feel like they weren't fleshed out enough.
Yeah, I really liked it, and I
I
liked
get that
kind of
that
when you get
stands
to
for a
the
lot of the game, but
yeah, but like for me, I don't have anything to compare it to, so I'm like, I really enjoyed this experience just as it is. But yeah, I did enjoy the kind of little crossover moments with Resident Evil 2. And then the end with the Nemesis boss fight. I really enjoyed that boss fight. I think it was really cool, having him jump up to like the different tanks and having, Carlos tell you where he is. So you have
yeah,
to like
yeah.
quickly find him, stun him. And then the fact that zombies keep spawning in that you have to kind of take care of. That was cool. The part that let it down for me was the final Nemesis boss fight. And it was really cool, having Jill have that big fuck off gun thing.
The railgun.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah, that's what it's called. I was trying to think of what it was called. I look forward to your comments. But I was like trying to. I really liked how badass it was and how ridiculous this final boss was. Um, but at the same time, I was like, this is actually. I just felt, and I know on harder difficulties it's a lot more difficult, but on the difficulty I was playing it on normal, I was like, this is piss easy, and there's really nothing to it. Like, I really didn't feel like it was an actual boss fight. I just thought, oh, I'm just shooting these little
If
things,
if you
and then
do
I'm
ever
going to
play
do
it
this thing.
on a higher difficulty, that part of the game is the part where I almost gave up.
Yeah, I know that boss fight is quite broken on Nightmare, I think it is.
Yeah, he
Just
becomes
from
really
watching YouTube
fast with his
videos.
movements, and you have to be fucking Dark Souls tiered dodging to
Yeah.
live.
Yeah. So, like, I know the challenge is there on some of the higher difficulties, and I know it's
On
broken, but
normal,
for
it's not
me,
there, and you played it on that, so that's.
playing on normal, I was just disappointed. I was like, what is this?
I think it's
Especially
more there
because,
for the cinema. I think you've gone through the main boss fight at that point. That's more of like the
yeah.
the finisher, like Birkin at the
Yeah.
end of two.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, I didn't think it was bad or anything. I quite enjoyed it, but I was a little let down by it because I was expecting, because the game really sets it up for you as well. Like, you have that whole opening bit where she grabs the rail gun and you use it, and it's like the hype levels build so high to then just be hit with this thing in normal difficulty where it's like, oh, you just shoot the things and Nemesis doesn't even really attack you. It's like, what is the point of any of this? Like, I was really let down. It's like the final Birkin, yeah, like the bit you're talking about, the final Birkin bit in RE2,
Where he's
playing as
chasing the
Leon.
train and
He's just chasing, and then he's just like this big sludge coming through the train, and you just shoot him. I had a heap of ammo for everything, so I just shot him a few times, and it was
funnily enough,
over.
that's actually very consistent with Resident Evil. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure you haven't played RE7.
No, I haven't.
Small
No.
spoilers if you ever do. RE7 does do the exact same thing with its final boss. You go through
Yeah.
the whole thing, and then at the end, giant encroaching monster comes towards you, and your only option is to shoot. RE3 is actually better designed than both Birkin, or Nemesis in that scenario is better designed than both Birkin and RE7's final one.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's still the hype
Yeah.
doesn't fulfill itself.
Yeah, but I did like the end though when the hype built up again,
Oh, get that
as
final
you're
railgun
going
in.
up to finish, and that was great. I love that whole bit, and then the following, like cutscene with Nikolai and all that was really cool to watch. But I don't know. For me, I think I prefer Resident Evil 2 as a game. I do like the plots. I do like how silly and actiony the plot is in 3, but And I like Jill Valentine far more as a character. I think Jill Valentine and Carlos have a lot of chemistry,
Yeah,
and
they're on screen together.
I would really like to see more of that in a game.
Agree.
I don't care if it's a spin-off game or whatever. Just give me more of those two.
I'm hoping that
And
these games lead into a reboot universe.
yeah, but I really like Jill as a character. I think I prefer Jill as a character more than Claire or Leon. But for me, I just think Resident Evil 2 is a better game. Just all up. I think it's a much more solid experience, a much more solid, consistent experience that
Yep.
gets a bit ridiculous at times, but it's also like it knows when to rein it back. Where RE3, I just feel like is I again like I like how silly it is, but at the same time, I think just
Escalation after escalation.
I think gameplay wise, it doesn't quite work as well. But again, this is just my opinion, and I'm not an expert on Resident Evil. Like, I'm not comparing anything to the classics because I've never played them. The only Resident Evil game I've played was RE5, so and a little bit of RE4. So I'm not comparing this to anything. I'm just talking about these two games as they are. But I enjoyed playing both of them. That's the thing. They're both good games, and I know a lot
Yep.
of people, are complaining about RE3. But honestly, I think what RE3 is on its own is a really good game, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to playing it again.
I
I actually
feel
wanted to
free.
play it immediately. Yeah. But
Feel
what's
free
your
to
bullshit
disagree
rating?
with me
Because we
here.
didn't rate it before.
Um, shit. So let's say I actually in many
I put you
ways
on the spot there,
you
didn't I?
have here, yes. Um, RE3 for me in many ways is better than two, in my own, not objectively, not sub. Which one's the one where it's my opinion?
So, subjectively is your opinion, objectively is fact. But
Okay,
people like to mix those up. People like to use the word objectively all the time on YouTube as to way to back up their own opinion when in fact they're using objectively wrong. But anyway,
right.
that's a topic for another time.
Objectively, I find RE2 the better game.
Yeah.
Subjectively, I prefer RE3 in many ways.
Mm.
RE3 feels more like a. Feel free to disagree here. RE3 feels more like a movie sort of thing to me. Its pacing is more
Mm.
consistent with that of a film, whereas RE2
Yeah.
definitely feels like a game. Um,
Yeah.
but for my bullshit rating, let's go a 8.-9 dash 10C.
That's
That's
out
right.
of 10.
Yep, we're throwing in letters now. Fuck all of you who like
I
consistency.
thought you were gonna be like I give it three Nemesis forms out of 10.
Nice. I was originally going to go 23 based off just combining 2 and 3 together. So
But
you can
yeah, no,
also have that 23 Mr. X Nemesises together.
yeah, I think I can get behind your sentiment because for me, with RE3, I was just kind of enjoying it and just going through the I was going through the motions, but not in a
Yeah.
negative way. I was just like playing each part of the game and really enjoying it. Where
RE2 really
RE2,
sets you up for it.
I yeah, I with RE2, I really actually felt things playing that game. Like not necessarily emotions, but
Mm,
like I as
the
I was
tense,
experiencing,
the
yeah, it was very
the
tense, and for me that just stands out more in my
yeah,
memory
that's
than playing RE3. But you
yeah,
know,
that's
I
for
love Jill Valentine as a character,
agreed.
so yeah,
RE remake Jill, perfection. Honestly,
yeah,
one of the high tier Resident Evil protagonists.
yeah.
She has
And like I said, I want to say
personality. She can get along with Carlos, who I love, my
yeah,
baby boy.
I love his hair.
I know it's great.
But yeah, so that's our I guess official review. We're like 2 months late on it, but here we are.
Yeah,
Resident Evil 3. I
don't
finally
ever
played it. I
expect
enjoyed it.
consistency.
That's the thing. But I want to move on to something that we are a month late on.
Yes.
And by the way, something I wanted to quickly add in the catch up segment that I forgot to mention
Yeah.
was I've been watching the behind the scenes Mandalorian series.
Yes, you brought that up when we did do the Mandalorian episode.
Yeah,
Um,
but it hadn't come out by that
yeah,
point
no,
yet.
that's why
But
I meant.
it was coming out on the day we recorded that episode.
Yes. What did you think of? Does it? How's it
I've
going?
been enjoying it. I haven't watched the latest episode yet. I've only watched the first four episodes, but I think it's been really cool to watch. It's a
Because I
really
found that
cool.
whole the set projection thing.
Yeah, that was the episode, the last one that I watched. Yeah,
That was really cool when you told me that.
yeah, and episode four is yeah just all about that, and it's really cool to see. But yeah, I think episode five's on like the animatronics and puppets and stuff. I think so. I haven't watched that yet, but it was great to watch that series because the first episode was like the directors' roundtable, and watching that, like I love how all the directors are talking very seriously, and then it cuts to Taika Waititi and he just starts talking shit. It's great. I love it. But yeah, no, that series has been really good. I've been enjoying that.
Okay.
Just thought I'd slip that in there. It's definitely
Which
worth watching.
helps segue us fully into
Into what we're talking about this week, which is Star Wars: The Clone Wars Season 7.
wrapped up production a month, or wrapped up in the entirety a month ago, a month and a day ago.
Yep. This
Uh,
is something that Star Wars fans have wanted since the show was cancelled by Disney back in the day.
Back in good old 2014.
Yeah, isn't it
2014.
interesting that the show was cancelled by Disney, but then Disney brings it back?
I know, it's
It's
great.
great.
I think they did
But back then,
step on the toes of the sequel.
So back then, the show was cancelled. Actually, after season five had aired. So season five kind of aired, and the show was cancelled. And then, obviously, with animation, obviously they're so far in advance that they actually had enough episodes finished to produce a season six, a shortened season six on Netflix, but it was still, that's why season six and seven are so much shorter than the rest of the
Yeah.
show. But they had enough actually made, or at least at the point of being almost finished, to be able to do that. Where they also had a heap of episodes which Dave Filoni has released, over the years on the Star Wars website and stuff, and it was a bunch of animatics with complete voiceover. So they recorded a heap of voiceover for certain episodes, but they actually hadn't animated them yet properly. One of those was the Bad Batch episodes, the Bad Batch arc, which eventually got completely made in season seven. But the original plan for the show was to do season six, seven, and eight. And then eight would be kind of the wrap up, the final season of the show. And obviously, there's a lot of storylines that they were going to do that they didn't get to cover. Ahsoka coming back wasn't something specifically for season seven. That was always intended after she left at the end of season five. It was always intended that she would come back in a later season. So season seven, what we're getting now, is kind of just, there's three arcs across the series. We've got the Bad Batch arc for the first four episodes. We have the
Ahsoka
Ahsoka
Returns
arc
sister
for the
arc.
middle four. And then we have what is essentially the final vision for ending the show. And we'll talk about all that in a bit. But yeah, I want to talk about briefly my kind of experience with the Clone Wars after it was cancelled, because I obviously watched back then. I was watching the show later because I was waiting for the DVDs to be released so I could watch them on DVD. And
Before streaming.
yeah, and so this was before season six, which was back then dubbed the Lost Missions. This was before that was announced on Netflix. And so I watched thing, and like, to me, I didn't even know the show was cancelled at that point yet. In fact, I don't think they had cancelled it by that point. I think it was still a thing. And I was watching season five, and I finished season five, and like, that hit me so much because Ahsoka is my favorite Star Wars character. So watching that season five finale, with the way season five ends, and like that final scene with like the music with Ahsoka's theme and everything, it just really hit me emotionally. And I can definitely say I may have shed a tear or two during that scene.
Yep, it
Season
got me.
five. Yeah, it's, oh god, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. It really, like, it just hits you. It hits you so hard, and I love that whole arc. In fact, I actually just recently rewatched that arc, and it's really good. The whole arc is really good, and Yeah, and to me, that works as an ending of that show. Like,
Yeah,
because Ahsoka is essentially the audience surrogate, sorry, of that show. Like, she is essentially the protagonist.
you were once an
Um,
excellent child and now you've grown up.
yeah, and like her character development across that show is amazing. I really love, like, I mean, because I remember, like Ahsoka was the most hated character back in the day,
I
when that show first started.
Obviously I caught up much later, but going through old Reddit posts and things to see developments, and there's a lot of comments just going, I wonder how they're gonna kill Ahsoka. I can't wait for her to die. I'm like, neat.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that obviously she's not in episode 3, so
Yeah,
eventually they would have to deal with that issue.
that's before
I
Disney
think the
decide
way,
every Jedi has a chance to live if they try hard enough.
yeah, I think having her leave, if the show never came back, if the show never got that season 6 on Netflix or whatever, I think that really works well as an ending to that show. And I would have been perfectly fine with Ahsoka just leaving, and then we get nothing, and then we just skip to Revenge of the Sith and she's off doing her own thing and she's not
Yeah.
part of it all. And obviously she comes back later in Rebels as well. And so, like, after that, Rebels was kind of the next appearance of Ahsoka beyond that little cameo in season 6. And they kind of continued some of those story arcs from the Clone Wars in Rebels, specifically with, like, Darth Maul. Um, they didn't really explain how. I don't think they explained how Darth Maul escaped, like, Darth Sidious's kind of crutches back then in Rebels.
No,
Because like the last story arc with Darth Maul back then was that episode where
it
like
was him
Sidious killed.
sieging Mandalore and Sidious fucking wrecking shop.
Yeah, that was kind of the last appearance of Darth Maul, and then he just kind of turns up in Rebels.
Yeah,
Um, but I will say, like, I don't know if you've watched Rebels, but
I finished season 1.
okay, so you're actually you would have had the reveal of Ahsoka, I'm
I've
pretty
met
sure.
Ahsoka. Yeah,
Yeah, so season 2 is very much a sequel series to the Clone Wars. Very much like a lot of the plot arcs, some story arcs from the Clone Wars carry over into season 2 of Rebels. So Ahsoka's a big part of it. She's not as big part of it as I wanted her to be. She kind of just pops up here and there, but then it leads to um, the just an amazing finale. Um, which is just great. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of where Darth Vader comes back into it, and you've got Darth Maul there, you've got the Inquisitors, you've got that whole storyline going on, and it's really emotional. Like they really hit you hard with that as well. It's not as emotional as her exit in season 5, but it's really good. But that kind of paves the way for the rest of the show to continue on, and it's season 2 is very much kind of that early days of the Rebel Alliance type thing.
yeah,
um the most comparable thing I can think of for Star Wars Rebels season 1 is Firefly. It's very much just them on a ship doing their thing. They're like space pirates almost. But then as the show goes on, it becomes more and more about the Rebel Alliance. But yeah, I suggest, if you now that you finish Clone Wars, I would suggest maybe watch season 2
oh yeah,
of Star Wars Rebels. Yeah, and then watch the rest of it because it's really good. I still haven't seen season 4 yet. I just know how it ends. But yeah, it's really good. I'd recommend watching season 2, especially after watching season 7 of Clone Wars. There's going to be a lot of like parallel themes and things that carry over between season 7 and the season 2 of Rebels. So
yeah.
definitely cool. But yeah, for me back then, I never watched season 6. And the reason why was because I was a stubborn bastard. I refused to watch it because I was done. Like for me, season 5 ended that show, and I was finished with it. I was happy. I didn't need to watch season 6, so I never watched it. I did see bits and pieces of it over the years, but I never watched it in its entirety until recently, after watching season 7. I decided to go back and watch season 6 again, and it's really good.
Yeah, it is.
I'd have to say it's really good. I'm surprised I didn't watch it earlier, but I finally gave in. But
Season 5 upwards is an upwards hill of just getting better.
Mm. Do you know what I really like though the is it the Mortis arc in season 3? The
On the
one,
world between worlds, or like the Force
yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I really like that arc. That's a really good arc as
I
well.
like the foreshadowing of Anakin.
Yeah, my favorite thing. Do you know what I've noticed is when they started writing evil Ahsoka in that episode, the way they wrote her was very much like you are literally writing Harley Quinn if Harley Quinn was a Star Wars character. I don't know if you noticed that,
I
but
did not.
she was very Harley Quinn esque in that episode. Once she kind of went under that influence of the sun and was fighting Anakin and Obi-Wan, that kind of little dialogue bit leading up to it was very much Harley Quinn, and I actually quite enjoyed that. I thought it was really cool. But yeah, I watched that. But yeah, season 5 I think is my favorite season. I think
Ye-
just probably
yeah, I can agree
I
with
don't
that.
know. Maybe because it's just I don't know. Maybe it's just because that final arc with Ahsoka is so fucking good. Um, but yeah, but we have season 7 now.
Yeah,
There's been a lot of hype for this ever since 2018 when they announced it and revealed that initial trailer. I actually went back and watched that panel because it was revealed at a Comic Con panel. They did a 10-year anniversary of the Clone Wars panel, and Dave Filoni was kind of going through a lot of concept art and a lot of things that were never made with the Clone Wars and whatnot. And they
yeah.
had like Ashley Eckstein there and Matt Lanter and all that. And then I remember this at the time, but revisiting this now after season 7 has come out is just weird.
Just a quick note, I
But you
do
know,
apologize for the meowing cat I'm just about to let out of my room.
that's okay. Um, but yeah, so like in that panel you have, like they go through, they show a bunch of concept art, they show concept art for the Bad Batch and things like that.
Yeah,
And then at the end they're just like, oh yeah, well, we've like prepared a little something, just as like a bit of a thank you to the fans for all these years and all that kind of stuff. And then just hearing the audience, as the lights dim and the Lucasfilm logo comes up, everyone's like, whoa, Lucasfilm, whatever. But no one realizes what's about to happen. And it's that season 7 reveal trailer. And I love it because it just starts out with like the clone trooper helmets. You start with Rex's helmet and all that. And it's just a heap of dialogue from the clone troopers throughout the show. And as it goes
yeah,
back, the camera pans back and back and back, and then all that, and then it comes up with like this. The audience exploded when it came up with the text saying "a war left unfinished" until now, and then the audience just exploded. And I remember watching it. It plays that like scene where they're coming in and from the Bad Batch episodes with like Anakin, Rex, and one of the Bad Batch.
yeah.
They're walking there and they're at the hangar, and I remember, and then it comes up with the Clone Wars, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" It was pretty crazy. And then they exploded again when Ahsoka appeared in the trailer, and I just remember watching that back now, and I remember watching it at the time, and that was crazy. There's like these guys just shouting, "We love you, Dave Filoni," and all that, which is why I'm like, Dave Filoni, just yes, he needs to be in charge. Just make him and Jon Favreau in charge. I mean, that's what's happening, but they should have been in charge from Star Wars from the very get go.
Oh yeah.
Not Kathy Kennedy. Like they should have had Dave Filoni running the show because he fucking knows Star Wars.
Damn straight
I
he
don't know if
does.
you. I don't know if you watched that episode of The Mandalorian where he talks about the Phantom Menace. Not the
No,
episode of
I
The
have not.
Mandalorian, the behind the scenes. Well, he basically talks about. He was talking about George Lucas, and he talks about why that lightsaber battle is in the Phantom Menace is the most important lightsaber battle in the entire series, and why it's called Duel of the Fates. And he just talks about like he's talking about it like as like because he said like George Lucas explained this to him and explained what that the significance of that battle, and the reason why it's called Duel of the Fates is because whoever wins that fight will determine the destiny of Anakin and how the entire Star Wars saga plays out, and like Qui-Gon is meant to be this father figure to Anakin, and if Qui-Gon didn't die in that fight, the whole thing would play out differently because Anakin would have a father figure
Yeah.
with him throughout the thing. But because Qui-Gon dies and Obi-Wan's left to train him, Obi-Wan, I mean, he explains that, Obi-Wan doesn't train him because he likes him. Obi-Wan trains him out of obligation to his master. And that's the big difference to if Qui-Gon trained Anakin to Obi-Wan. And so that's why it's called the Duel of the Fates, because everything revolves around that lightsaber fight. And it's just such an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
Something that I've never, thought about. And so I remember watching that in that Director's Roundtable episode, and it just blew my mind. Like, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, he gets Star Wars, and I'm really glad he got to finish Clone Wars.
100%, yeah.
Well, let's talk about Season 7.
Yeah.
What did you think of it? Oh, actually, no, quickly, I just want to get your thoughts. What do you think of Clone Wars as a whole now that you've caught up?
Clone Wars as a whole is a brilliant thing. It had its ups, it
It's...
had its downs.
Yeah.
Season 1 was a neutral ground, it's getting its footing. It can't be great, it can't be bad. Season 2 was better than Season 1. Season 3 was molto bene, brilliant for the time. I love
Yeah.
Season 3.
Season 3 is
4
really good.
gets better, but Season 4 was honestly the first season where I was like, this is really slowing me down. I do not like
Yeah.
the beginning arcs of that season. Like the
Yeah.
arc and whatever's after that. Once you hit the Obi-Wan going undercover and the Darth Maul saga and the
Yeah.
Mandalore. Wait, or is that Season 5? That might be.
No, Siege of Mandalore is Season 7.
Not the Siege, but some of the earlier
Yeah.
Mandalore
Yeah,
stuff.
the Mandalorian stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Season
I
5
think
great.
the only part that really lets Season 5 down is that droid arc.
Yep. Where it gets more entertaining as it goes to the point where I could watch and go, huh, okay. But no, when I started off that arc, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Do I
Yeah, because
have to
it's
sit
going to be
through
like
this?
4 episodes of just that.
It was painful. I will not lie.
But yeah, like Season 5, the second half of Season 5 with that whole Mandalorian arc with Darth Maul, and then following that up with that Ahsoka arc is
You can
so fucking
tell that
good.
they had nowhere else. Like, they had everywhere to go. But you could tell that they were probably told, you're finishing this up. Because it really
Yeah.
starts to feel like a finale leading up to the Ahsoka arc. And I
Yeah.
love the Ahsoka arc, and I obviously I knew Ahsoka got exiled beforehand, but I didn't know
Yeah.
how. And it's always finding
Yeah.
out how that makes it worth it.
Yeah.
I'm happy
I
she
mean, it's funny
chose
because
to
she
on
doesn't...
her own volition.
Yeah, I really like that she chooses to leave,
Yeah,
because Ahsoka, they were really building Ahsoka up as this character that was, because she's Anakin's Padawan. They're really building her up as this character that doesn't have full faith in, like, she has faith in what she believes in, but she doesn't have faith in what the Jedi have become.
yeah,
And that arc really explores that concept of the fact that even the Jedi are starting to lose faith in the
which is
Jedi
a
Order. And
very continuing thing from season 3 onwards, I would say,
yeah.
of the clones, of some of the Jedi, of the Senate in particular, all going, "What's up with the Jedi? They've kind of lost their way."
Yeah, well, it's not just even that. Like, even the Senate, like, the Clone Wars really explores the politics of
Mm,
the era in a much better way than the prequels do.
yeah, which is
But it really goes into it.
because I will admit I love the politics of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't particularly care for the politics in the prequel series.
Yeah, like, the politics of the Clone Wars really explore, like, I mean, how it would be if, there was, another world war, for
Mhm.
real. Like, there'd be a lot of politics and a lot of different sides and, all that. And Clone Wars really does a good side. I mean, Clone Wars does a great job at really pushing the separatists as well and their kind of ideology, and
I feel
it's
like
not just
they
about
didn't quite do as much as I would have wanted in that, because you had that one arc
yeah.
in season 4, season 5, season 3,
Mm.
where Padme and Ahsoka cross borders to talk to their friend, to Padme's friend, about trying to get an
Yeah.
end to the war, and then she gets assassinated. But for that briefest moment, you get to see that separatists also don't want the war to keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like
You
that
see
could have
that
been
they've
explored a bit more.
could have been, but I do like that they actually take the time to at least explore the fact that the
Oh yeah,
separatists
it's not like
aren't
classic Star
separatists.
Wars: separatists bad,
Yeah,
Empire bad, rebels good.
yeah, yeah. No, it really goes out of its, and it really does a lot to also explore the. Like, there's obviously a lot of foreshadowing in the Clone Wars because we know how Episode 3 plays out, but there's a lot of stories, political stories, just dealing with the Republic and the Jedi Order, and the fact that the Republic is doing some seedy shit, and that like the whole idea of that there's heroes and villains on both
On both
sides.
sides.
It's really
Yeah.
cool. And yeah, I do love that arc, and they do set Ahsoka's character up over time um, to be that way. And one thing I love is, while they don't confirm it, I definitely think Ahsoka 100% knows about Anakin and Padme.
Oh yeah, more than
Um,
likely.
just because the way that final conversation ends, in season 5, when the she's leaving and Anakin's like, I understand what it's like, wanting to leave the order, and she's like, I know you do. And I think she definitely knows about that. It's the same with, like, in season 7, where they have that little gag where Obi-Wan 100% knows
Oh,
about Anakin and
when it
Padme.
brings up him and Satine briefly.
Yeah, yeah, that's in season 6, and then in
Oh, that was
season and that was in season 6, but in season 7, when like Anakin's during the Bad Batch arc, when Anakin's like talking to Padme via
oh
hologram, and then
yeah,
Rex is trying to
right,
stop
yeah,
Obi-Wan
yeah.
from entering, and then as they're walking off, they have this really excuse of Anakin's fixing Rex's helmet or whatever,
And they
and
just
then as
comes
they're
at the
walking
door
off,
and tosses it over to him.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's just like, um,
Just let me in.
you know, well, not just that. It's like the bit where they're walking off, and it's like Obi-Wan's like, us, I think he says like, "Did you say hi to Padme for me?" or, something like that. So like, it's definitely leading into Episode 3. Obi-Wan knows, and I definitely think Ahsoka knows. And I have a feeling they really set it up for like characters like Yoda, who probably knows as well.
Yoda 100% knows.
Yeah, but I like that they set that up, because I think in Episode 3 I really found it, like, I mean, I really also like the Padme's barely in the last season. She's there in that little hologram moment because it makes sense, because in Episode 3 they say they haven't seen each other for a long time, because they've been off in the Outer Rim sieges, and that's kind of where the Clone Wars takes place.
Hmm.
That final season. So I do like that they kept that kind of in there. You really only see one scene with Padme, but season 7, man, fuck me.
Before we fully dive into season 7, I was actually okay. So first of all, there has to be 100% someone in the world who has watched Clone Wars without watching the movies. Like,
Mm,
there's no chance like that there's not at least one person.
yeah,
And I've got to wonder who would be more pissed off: the fans who have watched Star Wars, the people, or the people who haven't. Because I noticed throughout watching all of it, one of the most continuous plot trends was, will they catch General Grievous today or Count Dooku? And like,
yeah.
if you're a person who's watched Star Wars, you're like, no, they won't. We've all seen episode 3. Stop pushing this at me.
I really like how, and I remember Dave Filoni was talking about this, the fact that they had to be very careful with what they did with General Grievous, because they couldn't have Anakin and General Grievous ever meet each other.
Hmm.
And I really liked, like they would be in the same battles, but they would never meet face to face, but they would be still fighting each other, kind of,
Because most
the
of the
kind of
time,
thing.
Anakin would go after like the commander droid or a Sarge or anybody else, and Obi-Wan would
Yeah,
always be the one going after Grievous.
yeah. So like, I do like that. I'm glad they kept that continuity there.
But
Um,
it's like if you're supposed to just watch Chefs for free, you're like, you've gone through 5 seasons of them going, will they get General Grievous? And at some point, your mind just flips, and you're like, they won't. They're never going to. Just stop.
yeah,
And then you've got
yeah,
people who watch the show who haven't watched Star Wars, and they're like, how do they keep escaping? It's bullshit. Why can't they
yeah.
catch the bad guy? And so I'm like, who
Uh,
gets worse off from this scenario?
yeah. I do think though, like one thing that I will say with Clone Wars is it really does a great job of like not just fleshing out the politics, but really fleshing out the characters
Oh yeah,
and character motivations. Anakin's a really good character, and the way
Anakin
they
is
kind of
10
develop
times
it.
better. The
Yeah, and the
only
way they
jarring thing about Anakin is the fact that, like, I can see this Anakin going into Revenge of the Sith, but I
yeah.
can't see Clone Attack of the Clones Anakin going into this Anakin.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a
I
weird
think they do
switch there.
imply. I think they do imply that a bit of time has passed
Yeah,
between the
I just
Clone Wars
couldn't
film
imagine him being
and
that
Attack of the
grown up in that
Clones.
amount of time, even though he has to be.
Yeah, the thing about the Clone Wars is timing is very all over the place,
Yeah.
because there's a very clear time jump in season three. It's not just the fact that they update the animation and the character models and all that. Like, it's a very clear jump in time. Ahsoka's quite a bit older. I would say she's at least maybe a year or two older,
Mm.
and
That's also when
Anakin's
people
hair's
start. Oh yeah, and Anakin, yeah.
Anakin's hair's a bit longer. They've gotten rid of that clone armor, like the armor.
Yeah, they've.
Um,
I think that the
but also
funny thing about
the
that
show
was,
starts.
they didn't know
Yeah,
how to. They didn't have the proper technology to render the flowing cloth all the time.
yeah,
So that's why they put the clone armor on. And so by the time of
yeah,
season 3, when they did the model update, they could finally show the Jedi robes as they properly are, which is why that suddenly happened.
yeah.
Um,
But I also think it's like, just yeah. I think just in terms of that, there has to be a time jump of at least
that's
because
when people
Ahsoka is
really
quite.
start talking about or, like the Senate stuff really starts picking up of we want end to this war. Whereas like
Yeah,
a bit earlier they were like, we must keep the war, we must win, and then
yeah,
no one's fed up. They're still World War I, jolly ho, let's go. And then they hit that point where they're like, we need to end this. This has gone on
yeah,
too long.
yeah. So I definitely think that. I mean, the problem is the first few seasons of Clone Wars are all told out of order anyway,
Damn straight.
so it's a bit hard to try and get that kind of timeline. But I will say, I think from what I understand, is those early parts of the Clone Wars. Season one is very much still within that first year or
Yeah.
so of the Clone Wars. Like, it's not that far from Episode two, but it's still a bit of a gap. Um, and then I think it has to be at least a year or two because Ahsoka grows up so much in
She's
such a
17
short
by
amount of
the end of
time.
it, and she's 14 at the beginning of it. So there is a 3 year
Yeah.
difference. Um,
Well, yeah.
Not particularly in just that part, but
Are you talking about 17, the end of season 5?
7.
That doesn't make sense because the Clone Wars went for 5 years.
I thought they go for 4, which still
I
doesn't
think it
make
was
sense.
about 4 or 5 years. It doesn't look. It doesn't matter. We're thinking too much into this. Anyway, there's a time jump. It's fine. Whatever. But yeah, it's very much. And I
Yeah,
think
Ahsoka was
because the show
17.
becomes okay. Well,
She was
there we go
roughly
then.
15 in season 3 when that time jump
15.
happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, whatever. I mean, actually,
Look, don't question it.
14, 15 still doesn't make sense.
Just don't
She
question it.
doesn't grow up that much
They
in the
have a lot
space
of
of a year.
stories to tell, but they're limited to the fact that it is sandwiched between 2 movies.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, there's a bit of a time gap. Ahsoka grows up, whatever, great. Um, but yeah, Ahsoka really grows as a character, and then that all leads us to season 7, where we have the Bad Batch arc finally. I thought that was a really cool arc. It was
I
a really cool little
I had a friend tell me,
story.
"Oh, I love this arc," and I'm like, "Okay." I'm watching like the first two episodes of it. I'm like, I don't care for these people because obviously I like
Mm.
Rex. Rex is fucking great. Then you've got this Bad
Right.
Batch who are like tossing shit every chance they get, starting fights, and I'm like, why though? This feels like
Yeah,
completely unnecessary.
I do like the part where they're surrounded by battle droids after the ship crash, and they just get like a piece of the ship, and they just start
Yes,
fucking charging at the battle
whenever they
droids
were
while
in action,
shooting from the side.
I love that group when they're like in action doing things. But the
Yeah.
early two episodes where they're just being characters, I don't care for them. When they kind of lighten up by the end of their fourth episode, I'm like, okay, I can respect some
Yeah,
of
no.
you.
I think that it's still just in general as a story. Like I think it's a very typical Clone Wars story,
It is.
but it was just nice to see Anakin and Obi-Wan out and doing their thing.
Season 7 is 100% that season 7 is like that episode 10 years down the line where they're like, look
Mm.
where they are now. The whole
Yeah.
season feels like a look where they are now episode. And like that makes sense
Yeah.
because for someone who didn't binge watch it, that's 7 years between last episodes, 6, 7 years. It's like, okay, you
Yeah.
know, fair enough. And I like that feel. But it's really
Yeah,
obvious, even to me as a person who binge watched it, that that's what that is.
yeah. It's a cool story, and it's good to see them because obviously Anakin and Obi-Wan are quite reduced in the final season.
Definitely.
Which I guess makes sense, especially because like the second arc, we get a brief cameo of Anakin in the second arc, but obviously the second arc is so focused
I
on
love that
Ahsoka.
brief cameo of both him and Admiral Yularen.
Yeah, and they're just on like, and Anakin knows Ahsoka's on that ship.
That he does his little sap. Let's go. Just leave it.
Yeah,
Admiral Yularen's like, but they're fucking trespassing.
driving in our lane, don't like it.
Admiral Yularen aged so quickly between seasons 4 to 6.
Yeah,
It was really weird. But anyway, season 7. Um,
yeah. So that was like the opening arc's pretty good. It's very typical
it's
Clone
typical,
Wars.
probably to just reintroduce you, and also budget
Yeah, I've
100% towards the last 4 episodes.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Anakin Obi-Wan part of the season. In fact, all the Jedi actually, because you've got Mace Windu in there, all that kind of stuff. And
I,
then the second arc is so focused on Ahsoka. Now, this is the arc. Sorry, I'm just gonna breeze through it because I really just want to talk about the finale.
that's fair.
But the second arc is that Ahsoka arc, and it's basically just reintroducing us to Ahsoka in the new context.
Yes.
She's just kind of doing a thing and gets kind of caught up in this whole, I
And
guess, kind
tripped
of,
out Speeder. Life
yeah,
isn't
kind of like,
going well, doesn't know what to do now that she's out of
yeah, and she
temple.
kind of gets caught up in that whole
It
criminal underworld thing.
was a fun arc, but I think it went
Yeah.
2 episodes too long.
Yeah.
Like, I
I think the
like
big thing is,
sisters,
like,
but
they escape from the prison
and then
and then they just get thrown back in at the end of the episode, and it's like everything that happened in that episode was just
it's
pointless
useless.
because yeah, like that's an episode you could cut because you could just go straight to the next part where
Yeah,
they
that
go
arc
at
should
it
have been
again.
2 to 3 episodes, and like a lot of
Yeah.
people hate the sisters. I don't fully understand why, because I think that they're not brilliant characters. They never could be in the episodes they're in. But I think they're serviceable to show you what life outside of the Jedi Temple is properly like for a person who's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
I like
And
them
also
as
like
a juxtaposition. I like them as a juxtaposition to
yeah.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, and it definitely builds on that whole idea of, people losing faith in the Jedi Order and the Republic and all of that kind of stuff, which I
You know,
really
I just
like.
realized their backstory is almost fucking identical to Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
I love it. Um but yeah, like this arc is definitely,
It's the
it's the
weakest
one that's
season.
kind of least liked out of the three
I,
story arcs, and
it has the trouble of being if you like obviously you can't come out of the gate with Ahsoka being back, so it's in a tough
yeah,
spot there. But also, it's also the one that you'd probably want to be at the beginning of the season, so it all just goes uphill from there.
yeah. But I mean, it serves its purposes because it does do a couple of things. Obviously, it reintroduces to Ahsoka, and it gets Ahsoka from point A to point B.
Yeah.
We kind of delve into her opinions on the war and the Jedi Order and everything like that.
Mm.
So it's a good little character episode,
Yeah.
or good little character arc for Ahsoka. But it gets her to the point where, she gets involved with the Mandalorian, so we can set that up for the final thing. One thing I like about it though is it does kind of explore that kind of whole criminal underworld thing with Darth Maul
Yes.
that was kind of set up in Solo. Because like that's
I
not really
love
in
his whole.
Rebels.
I don't fully understand his thought process of disgraced Sith Lord, so now I'm gonna be a fucking pimp lord. But
Yeah,
it's
but
I
like
do
it's interesting
appreciate that it
because
happened.
yeah, because it's in Solo, but Rebels is set afterwards. So like by the time Rebels comes around to Darth Maul's story in Rebels, it's very much different. He's not kind of like this criminal thing. And I do know that the whole intention of setting that up in Solo was to explore it at a later stage, which I just don't think they're going to do now.
No,
But I'm glad that they kind of set up the setup,
you've got to even you've gone.
to kind of give a bit of context to it.
They've pretty much Clone War given it the ability to Clone Wars it. They've got the Attack of the Clones. They've got the Revenge of the Sith, except in the context they've got the Rebels. They've got the Clone Wars Darth Maul.
Yeah.
There is a whole bunch of middle ground now there that if they ever want
Yeah,
to, it's a playground.
yeah, because I believe the idea was to explore it in a Solo sequel. I believe, or I reckon it'll probably come back at some point in some Disney Plus series or something. I'm sure they'll
Which
do it
as
at
we're
some
finding
point.
out nowadays is the definitive way to do Star Wars.
Yeah,
Like I'm more
yeah, we
convinced
definitely
with
are. Like the
it
series is so much better quality.
yeah. I'm
But that's gonna be interesting. So like, I like that arc, but like, its purpose is essentially to set up the whole Darth Maul Mandalorian thing, so we can actually get on to the finale.
yes.
And this is what I want to talk about. From the very moment the first episode of the finale starts,
That
it is very much a very
it
different
is a fucking
feel.
movie put into 4 episodes.
It really is. And it even starts like a movie.
You've
Like,
got the
you have the
Lucasfilm,
Lucasfilm
the
logo appears,
the
which didn't appear
silence.
before.
And then
Instead of having the regular Clone Wars theme, you
I
actually have
was
the Star Wars theme
so
play.
fucking hype at 2 in the morning when
Yeah.
that fucking theme tune starts playing. And like, when I started Clone Wars, I was like, I like the Clone Wars theme, but really, I just wish
Yeah.
they'd stuck with. Well, it needs its own identity, so I'd never wish
Yeah.
that theme to go away. But
Yeah.
and as we went on, it became a part of its identity. I was like, the theme is the theme.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I'm never gonna skip the intro just because it's so short and it's sweet and it's there. It sets the
And
mood.
it works well with the whole um
Wartime.
wartime propaganda thing that
Yeah,
they do at the start of each episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get to it, and you realize you get to the season 7 finale, and it's the main theme that plays. And you don't have Admiral Yularen talking about what happened last episode. I can't remember if he did. Did he do that in any?
No, it did do that, yeah. So what happened was the actual crawl, well, there's no crawl, but
Yeah,
the logo is actually going back slower as well. So they've slowed it down so they could fit more of the theme in, because obviously the Star Wars Clone Wars theme is a bit faster paced. It's designed to be quicker.
yeah. It's designed to.
But what happens?
It's designed to
Yeah, but what
frantically move you
happens?
into that narration in the next part where Admiral Yularen's always like, this and this is happening and this and yeah, it's all fast
Yeah,
paced. Yeah.
yeah, and then there's no obviously opening little crawl message like there is in every other episode of Clone Wars. You know how they come up with a
They're
little
fortune
like
cookies.
the fortune cookies? Yeah, there's none of that. But it just starts out with you hear the clones and the Lucasfilm logo, and it
Oh,
very much is a Star Wars film by this point.
It's
And you can also tell like the animation's been great throughout
oh,
season 7,
but
but
this is where it all is. From the
you can really
opening
tell this
moment
is
on
what they
that
wanted to
bridge,
make.
when they're on
Yeah.
the bridge of Obi-Wan, and then you have Anakin fly in, and I can't describe it properly, and I don't think I ever will be able to. But it just feels so much more cinematic. The way the voice acting is, the way the
Everything's more
direction is,
cinematic,
it's
yeah.
brilliant.
Like that shot, like you were just saying, that shot of Obi-Wan in the smoke with the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Oh,
And Anakin
so
fucking
good.
leaping bounds across the bridge and shit, and everyone hanging underneath. Everything just
Yeah.
feels like it's directed for film, not directed for TV. And that is
Yeah.
100% the way they should have done it. That's the way they did do it. They nailed it. It
Yeah.
it's like the Clone Wars has ended. We're back to Star Wars now. Like the
Yeah, and
full
it's
thing.
yeah, and like that is this first episode or so is very much just set up. You know, it's actually really nice, obviously, to reintroduce Ahsoka and back to Anakin and
Mm.
Obi-Wan and all that. I really like that there's a bit of a standoff between Obi-Wan and Ahsoka a little bit. You know, like
Because
they've
he's
got
still setting his
conflicting.
ideals.
Yeah, they've got some conflicting views on the situation that's happening at Mandalore. But I really enjoy that opening bit. You know, it's a bit lighthearted, especially the bit on the bridge and then following it. And I think it's really nice that's lighthearted like that because the rest of it is not. And obviously, you know that this is the point where you know, this is the point where Anakin and Obi-Wan go off to do Revenge of the
I
Sith.
cried. Okay, I actually
Oh,
cried when Anakin said his little bit to her about how he'd see her when he gets back. And I was like,
yeah, and
that's the last
you
time
just
you're ever going to
know.
see him.
Yeah, that's the last time you're ever going to see each other until Star Wars Rebels season 2. Um, but it's crazy, like that whole bit, and it's really cool. Absolutely love, you know, Ahsoka comes back, and then you see the 501st,
Their Ahsoka helmet's
you know,
100% there for
with these
merchandising,
Ahsoka
but
helmets.
I've never been more happy to
Obviously,
want to buy merchandise.
it just looks so good, and it just really shows that, you know, like how much these characters have developed and changed over the course of 7 seasons.
Dave Filoni
You
is
know,
really good at, or whoever does the art and things, is really good at integrating obvious merchandising into a story.
yeah, and it's just great to see, you know, like this you know, Rex and his little battalion of the because they're all obviously the 501st.
Yeah,
You know, they kind of like, you know, there's that loyalty that even though Ahsoka's no longer a Jedi, even though she's not part of the war anymore, there's that loyalty to her
and
that's
Ahsoka
just
has that
built up over the
brief
course of
moment of
seasons.
questioning it, like, I'm not with you guys anymore. Why do they care?
Yeah,
And Anakin's like, they don't care that you're not with us. They're loyal.
yeah, and I really, it's such a beautiful moment as well.
Yeah,
Um, And I really love that little one-liner from Captain Rex where she calls her Commander, and she's like, "You don't have to call me Commander anymore." And she's like, and he's just like, "Yes, of course, Commander," you know. And it's just like the little things like that that really make that scene work. And then of course you have that following bit with Anakin giving her lightsabers, and obviously that comes back to what you
it
said
changed.
before about how yeah, and this is the last time they see each other. And yeah, like I would say I cried in that bit, but I definitely got a bit emotional because I was like, oofed, like because
This
we know
hits
what's
me in the
about to
feels.
happen, and it's just like,
They,
oh,
I only ever found one inconsistency between Free and Clone Wars, and that's fully fair. I would never fault
yeah,
this for that. And it's just that one call where it's with Mace Windu who can go fuck himself, um, Yoda, and the rest of them. And in Free, it's just obviously those guys. And then in Clone Wars,
yeah,
Ahsoka's also tagged onto the side. And
yeah.
like that's the only inconsistency I can find, and I honestly don't care because it's
Yeah,
understandable.
but it's also cut around a certain way. So when that scene in episode 3 cuts away in the film, that's when Ahsoka walks in and that conversation keeps
Oh,
going.
okay.
Yeah, because that scene starts out with those lines, with like, I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi or whatever, and then Yoda says his little bit.
Okay,
And then
I got the
in the
timing of that mixed
film,
up a bit.
yeah, so in the film, Yoda says his little bit, and then it cuts to, I think, Anakin and Palpatine, I think. But in the Clone Wars show, Ahsoka walks in at that point, and you have that little conversation.
All right, in that case, I disregard my statement. It is masterfully crafted to be behind Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
It is like
Um,
duology, and it's great.
yeah. I do really like how they incorporated both Revenge of the Sith, and I like one thing. Obviously, the Siege of Mandalore is really cool. I love that whole thing. Um, but in terms of incorporating that to Revenge of the Sith, obviously that's happening at the same time as the battle over Coruscant is happening.
Yeah,
And the siege lasts a long time, by the way. I mean, the show kind of skips over the actual siege itself very quickly, but it happens for a long time in terms of in universe.
yeah,
And yeah, then you have that bit where you have that call with Obi-Wan, and he reveals that he's being sent to track down General Grievous, and that he reveals that Anakin killed Count Dooku and all of that. And what I love about this is, obviously, this is the whole events of Episode 3 being told from Ahsoka's perspective,
yeah.
but it's a very good backstory for Star Wars Rebels and Mandalorian as well. Because obviously the Siege of Mandalore is a big part of both storylines for Sabine Wren in Star Wars Rebels, and of course, the
Mandalore.
backstory kind of the Mandalorian. Yeah, so there's a lot to it. But I really did enjoy seeing the Siege of Mandalore. I thought it was really cool.
Agreed.
I love the part where they're in the sewers and then Ahsoka finally encounters Darth Maul, and I just love his line. He's like, "I was hoping for Kenobi. Why are you here?" And it's just like the way that line is delivered by Sam Witwer is so good.
Darth Maul has
It's
elevated himself amazingly to me.
Yeah, he's such a
He
great
he
character.
went from badass silent villain in FMS, where when you're a kid you're like, oh, he's got a dual lightsaber, he's awesome. Oh, and
Yeah,
then you get through Clone Wars, and he's this mastermind fucking criminal underworld. But he's also like, he is ahead of the curve on Palps's plan
yeah.
without being involved. And I'm like,
Yeah, and like there's a lot really going on, like, because obviously, once this kind of Siege of Mandalore part's done, we start moving further and further into Episode 3, and you kind of have that whole foreshadowing with Darth
I
Maul.
love
Darth
when he
Maul's.
starts freaking out.
Yeah.
Because you see him
Um,
slowly going on about how it's probably started, or it's gonna start
yeah.
any second now. And like he's talking to Jesse and the rest of the clones and his men, and just his paranoia reaching the peak is great.
Yeah. I love the bit where Ahsoka, they capture him and he's just like yelling like a crazy madman. Like, "We're all gonna die," and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to talk about the Darth Maul Ahsoka fight.
Oh, I love the I'll say the behind the scenes part about this for of
Yeah.
how they actually got the voice actors and Ray Park who
Yeah.
did Darth Maul in Phantom Menace, and it does him in a lot of conventions. How they got the two
Yeah.
of them to actually choreograph the fight, so it's much more
Yeah.
down to earth and real than
Yeah.
most prequels.
Yeah, no, it's also not just that, it's actually the only time this show has ever utilized motion capture
And it
technology.
is fucking great.
It really does show. Obviously, I really love watching the behind the scenes, because seeing, Sam Witwer, you know, who also did the voice for Darth Maul in Solo as well, seeing him just there, just watching Ray Park do his thing, it's great. And I'm really glad that they got Ray Park in, because, that guy deserves better.
Ray Park is like the ultimate I was in Star Wars and I'm a fanboy kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he definitely knows his stuff, and it was great to see. And you know, like the person he was acting like, the person doing the motion capture for Ahsoka was a stunt woman, so you know, like he's you know doing this whole thing opposite someone who professionally, I mean, you know, I guess you could say Ray Park professionally does this
At
as
this
well,
point, I think
but
you could, yeah.
but like to see someone who's like an actual stunt woman that professionally does fighting and professionally does that kind of stuff actually coming in to play Ahsoka, and she did a great job at really capturing Ahsoka's movements, because I know in that behind the scenes video, you know, they were talking about how even though they were using real people, they still had to kind of keep within the rules of the Clone Wars and how the animation style
Yeah.
works within the Clone Wars.
It,
And how you know there's like a lot of like higher jumps and things like that, you know, exaggerated movements and stuff like that. So even when choreographing that fight with those with Ray Park and the stunt woman, they had to keep that in mind. So there was a level of consistency
mm,
between animated fights and actual motion capture.
it also,
But yeah, that's cool.
did he use a double-sided lightsaber in that battle? Or no?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did. Which is the first time I think he's used it since he came back in Clone Wars. Because most of the time in Clone Wars, he only ever used one lightsaber.
I
Survivor
think he used
Press
the
always,
double
no,
bladed at
Survivor
some
Press
point.
always used the other one.
Look, I can't remember. It's been ages since I've seen those seasons. But it's such a cool fight, and one thing I love about that is it comes back to what you're saying. It's very much like a movie, you know. It's very
Oh,
cinematic. The animation is on point. The lighting is incredible. Like that bit where they're just standing there before they start fighting, and they're talking, and the whole siege is happening around them, and then the window just explodes, and there's glass flying through the air, and little fire embers just look so
I am
good.
willing to call season 7 the peak of TV animation.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not Pixar because
it's
obviously that's a movie budget, but for TV, for what's meant to be TV, fuck.
yeah. It's so good, and like that fight is amazing, you know. And again, it comes back to that
The
motion
way the
capture, the mix of the
choreography,
motion capture, the
it's all there.
choreography, the animation. You know, obviously the voice actors as well. You know, like Sam Witwer and Ashley are amazing
Oh yeah.
in these roles. Um, and so like you go across, you get that, and then of course then you go into episode 3, part 3, and I really love how you know the first episode of this finale starts with the Star Wars theme, but every other
It's
episode just has the Clone Wars appear, and then you just have
a
part 2,
few
you
ominous
know,
notes in the
part 3.
background.
Yeah, you know, they don't keep that whole Clone Wars thing going, and
Yeah,
it really fits with the tone, because episode 3 is obviously the Order 66 episode,
yeah. Before
but
before I watched all of the series, when I was still up to season
yeah,
2, season 7 was already finished by then. Or
yeah,
season episode 3, part 3 was coming out, or had just come out.
yeah,
And someone was like, oh, Hayden Christensen's voice is in this episode. I'm like, oh, cool, I'll check it out. So
briefly.
watched the first few minutes,
Yeah.
and just seeing the red logo when I'm still up to season 2 and silence, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, nothing good's happening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
you can't really kind of get. And Hayden Christensen's not really in it. It's just the audio from
what did
episode
I
3.
do? What have I
Yeah,
done?
well, actually, that was Matt Lanta. They actually
Didn't they
mixed the two
mix?
together.
Yeah. They also got
Yeah, so they had
Ian McDermott as
um
well.
yeah, and Samuel L. Jackson. They just took the audio from that, and obviously, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson was in the Clone Wars movie. He just wasn't in the TV series. Um, but he voiced Mace Windu in the Clone Wars movie. Christopher Lee voiced Count Dooku in the Clone Wars film.
Mm,
And then obviously didn't continue on in the series. But yeah, in season 7, yeah, it's just
they
like the
get the
audio chunks of
archive
that
audio.
scene. Yeah, but then they actually got Matt Lanta to record that "What have I done" line, so they mix it together.
Sounds really good.
Um, but yeah, like that scene, I just want like the atmosphere in that episode
It is just fuck.
leading up to it.
You've gone through the hype of the fight with Darth Maul. You've gone through
You know, you've
the
had the
happy,
siege of
funny moment at the
Mandalore.
beginning of episode 1. And then you get to
It's
this,
just such
and
this.
front to
It's
back,
it's
you have this sinking
yeah,
feeling the entire time. Like,
Yeah,
even
it's just such
past
an
the moment.
eerie. It's so eerie. It's like such
That's,
this
yeah, that's a
eerie
good word
tone,
for it.
because it should be a celebration, because they finally captured Darth Maul, and they're taking him back to Coruscant.
No, nothing is
Um,
sitting right with anybody.
yeah, it's just all weird and eerie, and
And like, if you've watched episode
I
3 and you know your Star Wars, you're like,
yeah,
oh,
and I love the shots of Darth Maul's eyes. Like every time they
what's
cut
going
to him
on?
when he's locked inside that thing, when he's locked inside the little chamber thing, every time they cut to his eyes leading up to Order 66 is so good. Like there's just so much emotion coming through his eyes animated.
It
Oh,
was,
so good.
they, like, obviously, in episode 3, Order 66 is a shock. You
Yeah.
don't know it's coming, or you get hints, but when he says execute Order 66, it's a very turn the switch, click, everything's done, and then Clones are
Yeah.
killing people, and you're like, what the fuck? But then once you've seen episode 3, you then watch Clone Wars,
Yeah.
obviously, and you know what's
Yeah.
happening. And the whole point of that episode is that you know what's
Yeah, you
happening.
know what's happening. But another thing I will say, and this is actually something that's interesting to think about, is Clone Wars actually makes that Order 66 scene in the film so much more emotional
Oh yeah,
because it gives it so much context because you've just spent
I
not just because in the film it's just these random Jedi that you've kind of sort of
I
seen in the
actually care
films, but
about Plo Koon now. He used to just be that one weird ass Jedi with the fucking ballsack head,
yeah.
and now
Yeah.
now he's Plo
And
Koon.
you actually have like 7 seasons or give or take of development of all of these
I will
characters, like
say that
even fucking Ayla, what's her name,
Aayla
Ayla
Secura.
Secura or whatever her name, that one random who had one shot in episode 2 of her standing in the crowd on Geonosis activating her lightsaber, and then in episode 3 she has that one scene where she's walking with the clone troopers and gets killed. But then in the Clone Wars, they really develop her character. So even that one scene in episode 3 where I'm like, oh my god, like it's Ayla Secura, they've just killed her, it's like,
I'm
fuck
ashamed to
me,
say
man.
there were a few people who died that I was like, oh, good riddance. And I will admit that season 5 did color my view on quite a few Jedi, where I
Yeah.
was like, cool, I hate most of you now.
Yeah.
Especially, like, I understand why Mace Windu does things, but he is such an arrogant fucking dick that in the end, I'm like, the only reason I even care for you anymore is just because you're Samuel L. Jackson with a purple lightsaber.
Yeah. I mean, look, but I think that context, just having the whole context of Clone Wars,
Yeah,
really gives
it
episode 3 and that moment in particular a lot of weight.
I watched episode 3 on the weekend, last weekend,
Mm.
after finishing Clone Wars, and
Yeah.
it is 10 times better with just that thought of, like, when because I haven't seen the supercut. I will watch it because I want to see that.
I downloaded it. There's a couple out there, but the one I downloaded was the one I sent you the trailer for.
Yeah,
So I downloaded that. It's like 16 gigs. It took me like 2 days to download because it's downloading off fucking oh, what's that? Yeah, look, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
But anyway, I haven't watched it yet either. I've skimmed through it because I wanted to see some of the crossover bits, but it's really well edited. The only part that doesn't work for me is the ending because it ends with episode 3 and then cuts to the 2 years later with the final scene of Clone Wars, and that works fine. But the cut between the two isn't quite that good. But the
yeah.
rest of it really cuts together really well.
Yep. I apologize for the noise in the background, if that is coming through.
That's okay.
Um,
Yeah, it is coming through.
yep. Sorry about that. We get into the watching it. You have that background. You're like, so just before this, they were on that bridge with Anakin doing the surrender,
Mm.
and then you're thinking the whole way. You get Obi-Wan on Utapau, and you're like, okay, he's just done talking to Ahsoka, which means Ahsoka's up to here by this point. And the whole way through, you're tracking what's happening in Clone Wars in your head with what's happening in Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah.
and you're like, this enhances everything.
Yeah, and one thing I love, like, it's again, like, coming back to episode 3, you have that kind of like eerie tone, and I really love that conversation between Rex and Ahsoka before Order 66 goes down, where they're on the ship.
Yeah.
And like, it's funny watching that for the first time. I was like, okay, Order 66 is about to happen, because why else would you have this kind of conversation between two characters if you're not about to do something that's just going to shake everything up? Um, but I love that little conversation, when like Rex is talking about how the clones feel about the war,
How they don't know
and
what they've got after it's done. It's
yeah,
like
and you
they
have all
they
of
don't
that.
want the war, but at the same time, it's the reason they exist.
Yeah, it's such a nice little conversation, and it's a nice little moment between these two characters as
The
well.
season finale
Um,
elevated Rex to easily, along with Ahsoka, my favorite character in Star Wars. I love Rex. 'Cause
yeah,
he's
Rex is
your
so good.
while Ahsoka's your audience kind of character
Surrogate, yeah,
surrogate for the Jedi. Rex kind of sometimes feels that way for the clones. He's that one who always voices the things, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
yeah. So he has that benefit. I love Rex, and
Rex is great.
especially that powerful moment where Order 66, because I think he got the call a tiny bit before the rest of the clones.
Yeah, it feels that way because, like, I mean, another explanation is that's been kind of thrown around is Ahsoka is sensing what is happening, kind of out of the context of time.
Mm,
She's when she senses what's going on with Anakin and everything, it's actually she senses it later after it's happened rather
yeah,
than at the exact moments it's
which would add
happening.
up because it
Um,
obviously takes a bit for Anakin to go through the whole slaughter people stage.
yeah, but like she senses it after it's happened because like in the film you have that whole bit happen and then you have that conversation between Anakin and Palpatine
Where he,
before he initiates Order
yeah,
66.
where he dubs him,
So Darth Vader, yeah.
yeah,
So you have that kind of like explanation that's given that she's sensing it kind of as Order 66 is happening and she senses what's happening to her master rather than Order 66 just in general,
yeah,
even though she senses that as well. But then she goes in and oh my god, that scene, man, that broke me.
Rex
That was like
shaking,
it was like season 5 Clone Wars all over again. Like just that bit where Rex is pointing the guns
and he so
and like you
doesn't want to do it. Like,
yeah, and you actually see like there's a little tear that runs down his face
yeah,
as he does it as
he's
well,
shaking a bit
and he's
with a
like
tear.
shaking and trying to hold it off, and oh man, fucking hell, really gets you, especially because like you've seen the movie, so you know what's happening, and you're just like,
You're like,
oof,
he has no
like.
choice.
And then there's obviously, then he starts firing and she dodges it. And I absolutely love how badass Ahsoka is. Like, she's just standing there in the middle of the
Oh
room
yeah,
and she's surrounded
deflecting
and they're
all the
just
missile
shooting at her and
lights
she's
and to cut out a way up top.
yeah, she's just deflecting and I'm like, Ahsoka's such a
I
badass.
love the
Um
pacifistic take on it. Her, I don't want to hurt
yeah.
any of you, and she mostly succeeds
Yeah, I
until
was gonna
she
say like one
fucking
thing that annoys me is the fact that she's all about not hurting the clones, but then in that bit she deflects a couple of bullets into them, and just kills a couple of clones.
I've seen the argument that that is the first people that actually shoot at her. So
Yeah,
naturally, you've got more of a fight response there. And then when she sees Rex doing it, she's like, "Wait, something's not right here." And
yeah.
so
Well,
he's
Rex shoots first.
does Rex shoot first? I thought they shot first.
Yeah, Rex shoots first.
Okay, okay, my point doesn't
She
fully
dodges
stand.
Rex's bullets, and then everyone just starts shooting her. Look, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Whatever. I do really like the team up of her and Darth Maul, though.
Yes,
I think that's a really
it is
fun little team up.
it is my favorite part of the episode. Um, Darth Maul doing his thing when she frees him, and he's like, "Give me one of your weapons." She's like, "Nope, you fend for yourself.
Yeah,
I just need a distraction."
yeah,
And the
it's
look he
great.
gives her before running off on his own, and holy sh! Have you played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order?
Yeah, yeah,
Have you
yeah.
finished it?
No, but I do know the whole Darth Vader
Yeah,
bit and everything. Yeah,
Darth Maul is the equivalent of Darth Vader in that scene, where he's following you
yeah,
breaking shit, and I'm like, oh my god, where the fuck were you on Tatooine?
yeah, yeah. No, he was absolutely destroying the clones in that whole sequence. And I love it. It is like
This is
that
a
Darth
kid
Vader
show.
bit in Jedi Fallen Order. It's like that Darth Vader bit in Rogue One. They really just let
Yeah,
Darth Maul
it's the one thing that's
unleash.
really come out of Disney really well is showing that Sith
Yeah,
Lords are fucking something to be feared.
powerful.
Like,
Yeah,
I know this isn't Disney Star Wars, but Palpatine in the end of season 5, when he does fight Maul,
yeah.
he was
Takes Maul and
terrifying.
Savage on.
He was
Yeah,
terrifying in the way he went about it, and that carries through for all the Sith throughout the entire part, like up until Darth Maul, and then he fucking brings down the hyperdrive room.
yeah. That's some very Force Unleashed type stuff as
Oh yeah,
well.
he doesn't give a fuck no more. He
Yeah, that's great. And like I love that shot when the ship comes out of hyperspace after he does that. Oh, what a shot.
beautiful.
What a shot.
And
But that kind of leads into the finale, like the end of it, so what happens? I mean, I guess we need to talk about this, but like Rex is obviously, Ahsoka tricks Rex, and I guess captures him, takes him to the medical bay,
removes the
to
chip,
figure out what's going
or
on, and they
finds out about
remove
the
the
chip,
chip.
removes the chip.
Yep. So you have that whole bit happening, and they're locked inside the medical bay. Ahsoka, the droids, and Rex. Rex is unconscious. They're breaking through, and I love in that episode. I love how the final episode starts. It's just that like really somber music playing.
Like
The Clone Wars appears,
the
the
writers
episode title
warned you.
appears, and then it just cuts to them cutting through the door.
It's the aftermath of what everyone was waiting for. Leading up to,
Yeah,
because everyone going into the finale is like Order 66, Darth Vader, and then that happens in
yeah.
episode 3, and then in episode 4, it's you're sitting in the fact that this has happened.
Yeah, and we still haven't quite reached the end of Revenge of the Sith yet. Like we're
No,
just
there's
right now, like, and this is really the last. Like that's really the Order 66 is kind of really the last like big crossover thing because the rest of the episode focuses just on
yeah,
Ahsoka escaping and all that.
and Darth Maul.
But I love the bit. So obviously removing the chip works on Rex, and so then it becomes Rex and Ahsoka
Against
and
the rest
Darth
of the
Maul
clones and Darth Maul.
separately escaping. And I love, the episode really hits you again when, they're standing there at the hangar and just all the clone troopers come out, an army of them. And, Rex is just like, giving his little speech, about how they're all his brothers and all that kind of stuff. And you have that bit where Ahsoka removes the helmet and
And
you
he's
see
crying.
Rex is like crying, and it's just like, fuck me, man. Like, this is a fucking kids show. Like, come on. But like, it really hits you, and like the finale definitely hit me in the same way that the season
A
5
hundred percent.
Ahsoka arc hits me. Like, it's just so perfect, and it really works. And like things like this, like it's really the music that gets me. Like, you give me an emotional scene and give me some great music with it, and that's really what gets me. That's what happened with Star Wars in season 5, and
Mm.
it happens again, and then they have that whole big battle sequence, and I absolutely love the bit where Ahsoka's stopping Darth Maul from leaving, you know, and you really get to see the Jedi can be just as powerful as the Sith,
Yeah.
because she's just single-handedly standing there stopping Darth Maul from leaving with the Force, and
Eat your heart,
oh, it's
Ray.
so good.
I,
It's so
I
good.
love the fucking
And
knock at they, because I swear this had to be a fucking knock at the fan base with their theories. When Rex is talking to the rest of the clones, and he's like,
yeah,
now, technically, she was kicked out of the Jedi Order, so she's not technically a Jedi, meaning we don't have to kill
yeah,
her. And that was like a large
yeah,
theory going around for a bit, like, oh, Ahsoka's not a Jedi anymore, they won't kill her.
yeah.
And
But then that's quickly shut down with the whole idea that,
you're a
well, no,
traitor
she's a
now.
Force user. well, not just that, but like the it seems like the because Darth Maul's also a target
Oh
as
yeah, it's
well.
anybody who
So it's
knows
like
about Jedi at this point.
it's like Force wielders are the targets here.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, but I love that whole bit. I love that little one liner from from Rex when there's like, we're gonna strip you of your command, your rank, and
didn't like being a
we're gonna
commander
execute
anyway.
you or whatever. And it's just like I don't didn't like being a commander anyway. And then they fight. That's great, but yeah, and then we're kind of reaching the end now, and she has to decide between saving Rex,
and
who's getting his ass
and
kicked,
getting the ship
or
off
letting.
more
So she lets Darth Maul go, of course,
naturally. You're
um,
not letting Rex go.
because and then it's just them fighting, and that last little bit of them trying to get out of the ship is so intense,
Oh yeah.
because they're severely outgunned. Also, is Order 66 the point where clone troopers just can't aim anymore? Because I feel like that's just like they end up being stormtroopers by that
I mean,
point
weren't the
because
501st fucking Vader's
Rex,
personal?
yeah, like Rex is literally standing there. He has no defense. He's just standing there and none of them
Pew
can
pew,
hit
don't
him.
miss.
It's crazy. But anyway, I love the last part. There's a bit of few close calls and whatnot.
Can we just bring
And then you
the
have the bit,
best Ahsoka bit?
the
Or not the best, but Ahsoka Force using her lightsabers to escape in the
yeah,
whirlwind around her to cut the floor out. That was
yeah.
slick as fuck.
Yeah, it's great. And then of course you have the following bit where like
He shot it
the
three
ship's
more.
crashing. I absolutely love, and it actually parallels the second, like the Siege of Mandalore. Like in the Siege of Mandalore when like Rex and Ahsoka are
Oh
racing
yeah,
each other
yeah.
to the ground, and she's jumping over ships and doing that. Like the end scene parallels that quite a lot. Except now she's trying to get
Rex
to
in the
Rex's
lead.
ship, but she's still flying through the air and like jumping across things and trying to get there. But you get to the last scene.
Ahsoka's made
Rex
a
walks out of
grave
the
for
ship.
the clones.
Yeah, and like even after everything, like all those clones died, but obviously there's still that kind of connection between Ahsoka and these characters, and you just see her there, and I love the shot. She's wearing the same cloak that she wears at the end of Star Wars Rebels,
Yeah.
and because I just fucking great. But what I love about this is the imagery that follows, because a lot of the imagery is
There
the
was
same as the
absolutely
imagery you
no
see in Star Wars
talking
Rebels.
in the last 8 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. There was no
Yeah,
dialogue.
yeah, it was just like just doing her thing. But yeah, and she leaves her lightsaber there, and I love how it transitioned. And actually, one thing I want to talk about is the soundtrack in this scene. That it's got that like synth sound
Oh,
to it,
the music
very
was fucking
Blade Runner
amazing
esque.
in the finale.
Yeah, it's very like Blade Runner esque type soundtrack, and it's so good. But then you have the last scene, which
It
is set
transitions. A
two
planet
years.
finally has a season.
Yeah, but it's set 2 years later,
Is
so
it
it's set
2 years
two
later?
years into the Empire, and you have Darth Vader come down, and he goes over and finds Ahsoka's lightsaber,
So fucking
and
good.
just seeing Darth Vader with a blue lightsaber like that shot from the
That
side where he's standing there and it's just the white background and the snow, and he's in the middle, he's the in his Darth Vader, and he just ignites the lightsaber. Like that is a fucking desktop
one of the
wallpaper.
things I've seen
Like
is something I'd actually never thought about with Darth Vader. I've never seen him do things without using the Force. So to see him
yeah,
lean down
just
and pick
pick
up,
it up.
and you're like, this is totally on board with what. That's like the very final moment of Anakin even
Mm.
being a twinkle before Luke shows up.
Yeah, it's like and it's very much also, there's a lot of imagery that foreshadows the fight between Darth Vader and Ahsoka
Yeah,
in season 2 of Rebels. There's a lot of the same kind of imagery. I don't want to spoil it too much, but the imagery of the little owl that you see flying
yeah,
around in
yeah.
the Clone Wars finale. Yeah, that's the imagery of that is exactly the same. Like it's mirror imagery to Star Wars Rebels, and I really love that shot of Vader when he's
His
looking up
face.
at that owl. If you look very
Yeah, you can
carefully,
see through the
you can
tint.
see his eye,
They're
and
not yellow like a normal Sith. They're
no,
Anakin's eyes, and you're like,
it's incredible.
and then that
And
happens, and like that's amazing. The animation, all
uh,
that, and I like the way he animated the sort of robotic movements. Like
yeah,
his walking feels far more robotic in that scene, and that's fair since
yeah,
Darth Vader's
you know,
mostly robot.
yeah. No, it's a really well done final scene, and like the music is so great throughout that entire final scene
Like
between both the
that
Ahsoka bit and the Darth
that
Vader bit.
punches you in the gut. And you're like, that's
But
that.
it's like what really works is not just the imagery; it's the subtext of the scene. You know, like when Darth Vader finds Ahsoka's lightsaber, he obviously knows whose lightsaber it is the moment he ignites it. He's probably knew that because that was where the ship crashed. He's probably
Yeah,
been tracking down Jedi, so he's here to try and. I guess I'm assuming he's there to try and find Ahsoka
confirmed that she
because he's
did.
probably assuming that Ahsoka's still there. But he sees that lightsaber, and to him, because he doesn't that because I know that changes in Rebels later on, but it essentially symbolizes that Ahsoka is dead,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you just him igniting the lightsaber, and then afterwards him looking up. The subtext of that moment, it's just him realizing that he has lost
Everything.
everything.
Ahsoka was
He's just
literally the
lost
last
everything.
potential connect, because as far as he's concerned, Obi-Wan and Yoda are
Yeah.
probably fucked.
Well, yeah, like as far as he knows, because obviously his role at this point in time is to
Hunt
hunt
down and
down the
finish
remaining
off.
Jedi. But in terms of to him personally as a character,
Padme's dead.
he's
His
lost
children were
everything.
never born. Obi-Wan's gone.
He's lost that he Obi-Wan's gone, Ahsoka's gone. Just everything is he's
And he gave
lost
it
it,
up
and
all
he's
for
just
the because he wanted to fucking let Padme live. And in the end, that
yeah.
choice fucked him, and he finally. That's the point where he realizes that he's not coming back from any of this.
Yeah, and it's also like really interesting the imagery because it definitely shows that he now realizes that he is also like Darth Vader becomes very powerful, but we don't see it a lot in the films, of course. But Darth Vader becomes this very powerful character,
Mm.
but Darth Vader is also a shadow of who Anakin Skywalker was and who Anakin Skywalker could have become.
Mm.
He's a shadow of his former self, and no matter how powerful Darth Vader gets, he's never going to be as powerful as Anakin Skywalker. He's never going to be what he once was. And just seeing that final shot of him looking up at the sky, realizing he's lost everything, he's lost himself. It's
He's the
just,
last. He's the last survivor of his group from the Clone Wars. That's it.
yeah. And not just that, but this is also, I guess, the last kind of real big shred of Anakin Skywalker.
It's gone.
Because, we see a little bit of it in Rebels. There's like a nice little moment between Anakin and Ahsoka in Rebels. But it's a brief moment.
At that point,
And,
he's pretty much succumbed to my past is
yeah.
dead, and I'm gonna make sure it stays that way.
Yeah, it's really good. Oh,
Where
it's so good. And then the series ends so well with the final shot
so yeah, that's Anakin
of
letting go. That's Darth Vader taking
yeah,
over. That's
everything's gone.
everything's gone, and then you go to the final shot of him walking away, and you've got the Ahsoka clone helmet lying in the snow
Yeah,
with his back reflected through the visor, and you realize that that is the very last remnant of the Clone Wars that we will see.
Yeah,
That's
it's
that's
incredible
the end. Everything's gone.
that it,
Darth Vader's walking away. Anakin's gone. That's it.
it's done, and it's such a nice, really note. And I really love that it also keeps with that theme of this being a movie, and it doesn't,
Mm,
cut to the Clone Wars theme as the
no, it
credits roll.
just
It keeps
silently
that kind
goes
of
in. Like the music is softer and it just cuts to the credits.
yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that
It's
just
it's
happened.
like that. This is the end. And it's so good. And I remember, like, this is what I want to say, like, because remember how last episode I said that, I'm not too
Mando.
sure whether I place Mandalorian or Clone Wars on top.
And I
Season
was right there
seven
with you.
has
And
season seven has definitively put
oh yeah,
Clone Wars on top. Like, just that finale alone, in my
the
opinion, is
amount
just
of
the best Star
like
Wars.
all of the front ground stuff is amazing. Like the animation, the story, and then you
Yeah,
delve into the background of it, and this, like you said, the subtext behind the moments, and that just ascends the entire thing.
yeah, it's so good. It's honestly like I remember you saying when you said you watched it, it's like peak Star
It
Wars,
is
and it
peak Star Wars to me.
100%
Like
is.
I think the
Like,
closest thing that has done anything to this level for Star Wars was Empire Strikes
yeah,
Back. And that's the one
yeah,
that opened up Star Wars to as many possibilities as it has today, I'd say.
yeah. I think like, to me, like, I mean, I explained this. The movies are great, but for me, The Mandalorian is better than all of the films. It
TV has
does.
the Disney Plus stuff has thoroughly shown that it is the proper way to do Star Wars
Yeah,
nowadays.
yeah.
Because
I think I'm really. Oh, I don't know, like, just Star Wars season 7, like, it kind of just watching that finale just made me lost kind of lost for words. And it's actually really interesting to watch because there's a few YouTubers out there who have been doing reactions to Star Wars and whatnot. And one of them has been watching through all of Star Wars in chronological order. So they started with episode 1, they watched episode 2, and then they watched the entirety of the Clone
I
Wars.
actually
This is
tried
before
doing that
season 7
before
came out.
episode 9 came out. And obviously, season 7
Um,
didn't exist at that point. I did not
yeah,
succeed.
yeah. Anyway, they were trying to do that, so they were just watching through all of Star Wars, and there's been a few YouTubers doing that, but this person watched through the entirety of the Clone Wars, and on their channel they did videos on all of the big arcs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And how we were saying about how so then she finished season 6 of the Clone Wars, and then she went on to watch episode 3 because by this point season 7 wasn't out. And how we were saying how the Order 66 has so much more weight and meaning to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I have honestly, like, just watching her reaction to Order 66. Fucking hell, man. Like, it just shows that the Clone Wars really recontextualizes that moment because she was broken. She was broken watching that scene. And then obviously add season 7 on top of it, and she's been reacting to season 6. She started reacting to Rebels, so she finished episode 3 and she's watched through the entirety of Rebels now. And now she's reacting to the original trilogy. So I think she's watched episode 4 and 5. I think she's up to 6, I think. But yeah, and then in between she's been reacting to the Clone Wars each week as it was airing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really fucking crazy. Just seeing it, and it's actually really interesting watching people react to Star Wars for the first time, because, like, there's another channel I'm watching where this guy's been watching. He watched through all the films, and he watched them in machete order. So he watched episodes 4 and 5, and then watched 1, 2, 3, and then watched 6, and then 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
And he's now going back and watching the Clone Wars. So he's watching the Clone Wars now after he's seen all the films. But it's really interesting watching people who've never seen it before because they bring such a different perspective to it. They don't have that kind of bias or that nostalgia to certain eras of Star Wars.
Mm.
And so, it's interesting watching people watch the prequels now, you know, um, he watched like I think he said his favorite Star Wars movie is The Phantom Menace. At one point, out of all the ones he had seen by that point, I think this is when he was doing Episode 3. So it's really interesting to see these different perspectives who
Yeah.
don't have that nostalgia, who don't have that like fandom behind them. They're just experiencing this for the first time.
Which is honestly how
Um,
everyone should do it. If you haven't seen it, don't look up like look up what it is and be like, is this what I like? And then if you feel like yes, Star Wars is what you want to watch, do not look at what anyone else says about anything.
I will say though, I'd say season 7 finale of Clone Wars is required
Oh
viewing.
yeah, watch it
Just
after you
is.
watch episode 3, obviously, because
Yeah.
you need the context of Order 66 to make
Yeah.
episode 3 of the finale the what it is. You want that
Mm.
sense of dread.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's well
I
done.
will say
Um
on on my end, a final note on the finale.
yeah.
There's a brief moment in part two, like you said, when Obi-Wan tells Ahsoka that Anakin killed Dooku, and then
Yeah.
later on Darth Maul says that Palpatine's been grooming Anakin to be his apprentice,
Yeah.
and Ahsoka
I was
does
about to
not
say
believe
this.
it
Yeah.
at all. And I think the largest tragedy is Ahsoka not believing that Anakin could fall to the dark side that way, and then not telling Obi-Wan
Yeah.
is like if she had just mentioned to Obi-Wan, Darth Maul told me this, it could have been solved.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's what I was about to mention. Yeah, exactly. Is that, Ahsoka could have prevented everything.
But because no, it's like it's a weird analogy. It's kind of like depression, where the happiest person is smiling, and then after they fucking do the act, everyone's like, no, they couldn't have done that. Anakin falling to the dark
Yeah.
side is exactly that, with everyone around him
Yeah.
going, no, no, not Anakin, he wouldn't do this. And you're like, yeah, Anakin.
Yeah. But it's really interesting to see, okay, so in terms of season 7, what would you,
It's not getting a
you know,
bullshit rating. It's 10 out of 10.
yeah, give it a 10 out of
It's
10.
10 out of
Yeah,
10.
I think 10 out of 10 is fair. It's so good. And, like, obviously, that it's kind of falls apart a little bit in the middle. But it's really obvious that that final 4 episodes is
Where
what
the
they
heart
wanted to
is.
make.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything else, like the Bad Batch was a very popular arc that people wanted to be fully realized, so that's why that was chosen. And obviously, that middle arc is just there to set up Ahsoka and whatnot.
Yeah,
But
the rest is
yeah,
just
it's
kind of your
very obvious. The
normalizing,
final,
where you're like, hey, Clone Wars
yeah,
is back, yeah. And then the final 4
yeah,
episodes is rip your heart out,
here it
watch the
is.
movie.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really keen. I've got that edit, which is it's about 3 hours and 40 minutes
Mm.
long. The edit of Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith. So I'm pretty keen to watch that at some point. I was going to watch it before we record this podcast, but I kind of forgot. So you know, but yeah, that's cool. But it's interesting to see where Star Wars is going to go from here because we do know. Obviously, there's a lot of TV
There's
stuff
a lot of
in
TV
the works.
stuff.
Obviously,
There's a lot of
Mandalorian season
yep,
2.
which still comes out
We
in October.
know. Yeah, I think it's because they already shot it
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
before season 1 came out. So, and this is why the whole rumors that have been going around, I think they're trying to safeguard because you know how Ahsoka being in season 2 has been this big rumor going around for ages.
Yeah,
Her being played by Rosario Dawson, and she's denied it. I feel like obviously if it's still coming out in October, they've already shot it. So here's the thing: I think they're trying to keep it a secret, even though it's a rumor been going around for ages. I feel like because the current thing going around is that we're going to be getting an Ahsoka show,
which I heard is true.
an Ahsoka, yeah, which is going to be a sequel to Star Wars Rebels,
I
and it's
want
going to
something
focus
that
on
fixes the sequels the way that Clone Wars fixes the prequels.
yeah. Well, this show isn't going to be
I
that. This
know,
show is going to
I
be
know.
set around the same time as Mandalorian. Because the way Rebels ends, that final shot of Rebels is Sabine and Ahsoka post Episode 6. So after the Battle of Endor. And they go off to find Ezra. Um,
Yeah,
so that's kind of going to be where the sequel show picks up. And the rumor is that her appearing in The Mandalorian will be one episode and it will be designed to set up that show.
makes sense.
Um, the only thing about that is like, why would you get a big actress like Rosario Dawson to do
For a
that?
bit.
So I kind of have a feeling. I kind of have a feeling there's a lot more plans for Ahsoka than just that show, and I feel like she's probably going to pop up elsewhere.
Ahsoka
And I
at
think
this
by
point
cast,
is the face of the franchise for now.
yeah,
Most people
yeah,
now who look at Star Wars who are fans look at Ahsoka first.
yeah, because she's just gone through everything.
We've gone through
But
Rey, we've
I'd
gone
be
through Luke, we've
interested.
gone through Anakin. Yeah,
Yeah, but I'd be interested to see what happens next because in terms of behind the scenes, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are pretty much taking creative lead
good,
on Star Wars moving forward.
good.
Um, Kathleen Kennedy's kind of done her little bit, and she's now going to be stepping. She's still involved, but she's going to be stepping back to a more well, the rumor is anyway that she's going to be stepping back to a more traditional producer role
Yeah,
rather than being kind of like the creative lead. So having Jon Favreau, apparently the way from what's been going, none of this has been confirmed, by the way, so take it all with a grain of salt.
yeah.
But apparently what's going on is Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are taking over the creative side with the assistance of George Lucas.
We can hope.
So apparently George Lucas is coming back and getting involved. So because and the reason why I found out about this is because apparently there were more plans for Rey post episode 9. And the big rumor going around at the moment is that there were originally 5 stories planned for Rey. We don't know what they were, whether they were the wording is there were 5 stories planned for Rey Skywalker, and there were no kind of like confirmations of whether these were going to be films or whether they were going to be
Next
books or a
games,
TV show or
whatever.
whatnot. But there were 5 story arcs planned for, or 5 stories planned for Rey, and it was going to be post episode 9. So she was going to be Rey Skywalker.
Yeah,
So the reason why this has all been going around is because the rumor is that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are scrapping those 5 stories. However, and again, take it all with a grain of salt, but apparently Kathleen Kennedy still wants still wants Rey to be involved in some
you
capacity.
want your
So
character
apparently,
to leave a legacy, especially when
yeah,
they really didn't.
yeah. So apparently they're trying to rework, because what's happening now is Star Wars is kind of branching off.
Yeah,
We've got multiple different eras happening. So we've obviously
we've
got
got,
the
got the
Mandalorian,
Mandalorian before the
slash,
sequel saga.
yeah, we've got the Mandalorian slash Ahsoka Sabine show, whatever that's
Yeah,
gonna be. That's gonna kind of take place around the same time. Um, we've got some of the Disney Plus shows that take place around the Rogue One spin-off show with Cassian Andor, so it's going to take place around that time. We have the High
which is
Republic,
honestly
which
my
is
most anticipated thing, which got pushed back to January next year.
yeah,
COVID.
but that's going to be obviously before. We have the Old Republic,
Is that getting more stuff?
which is yeah, they confirmed Kathleen Kennedy. Oh fuck my microphone. Kathleen Kennedy confirmed ages ago that they're making they're developing an Old Republic movie,
I kind of hope that's true.
which is it's separate to the High Republic. Apparently, oh, who's the director of Episode 8 again?
Um,
What's his name?
oh fuck, yeah, Ryan Johnson. There we go.
Ryan Johnson. Yeah, apparently Ryan Johnson still has some stuff that he's making.
I
We've
hope
got
so because he has an interesting style that I actually did like.
yeah.
It just didn't
Well,
flesh well with what came before. I don't have a
yeah.
problem with
Well,
what
I
he did
think
with the movie.
yeah.
I
Well, they're exploring a post episode 9 era as well, and I think that's where Taika Waititi's film's going to be
yes,
as well. Is going to be kind of like this post episode 9 era.
can't wait for
But the
Guardians
reason
of
why
the
I'm mentioning
Galaxy
all of
with
this,
Star
so
Wars
like,
characters.
yeah. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is because Star Wars is now branching off, and
Yeah,
we're now doing kind of different things that don't revolve around the main saga.
yeah,
You know, it's like the original concept for the spin-off films, except now they actually just have the freedom to just do whatever the fuck they want. But yeah, so apparently Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and George Lucas are going to be kind of the creative team behind all of it.
mm,
So they're very much going to be approaching that MCU style of telling stories.
yeah.
But the big thing, the reason why I bring this up is because the rumor, and again, take it with a grain of salt, but the rumor is they're trying to find a way to retcon The Last Jedi, not The Last Jedi, sorry, retcon Rise of Skywalker and actually try to figure out a way to actually make Rey a legit Skywalker
That would be
moving
an
forward.
interesting risk. I
Yeah,
I would actually appreciate more risks like that nowadays. Like, you look back at movies in
yeah,
the 80s and the 90s, and they're retconning their previous entries like fucking crazy. And
yeah.
so, okay,
I feel like though, what's going on, given the integrity Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have, I feel like they wouldn't do it if they couldn't figure it out.
yeah,
You
right.
know, so I feel like, you know, if they're trying to figure out a way, because I think Kathleen Kennedy still wants Ray to be involved, even though
Daisy
from
Ridley
what I
does
can
not
tell,
get
Daisy
involved.
Ridley does not want to do it.
I don't think anyone
Does
in
not
who
want to be
acted in the
involved.
sequel series wants to anymore.
uh, yeah,
John
you've got
Boyega
John
fucking
Boyega
hates.
being like, "You're not going to Disney Plus me," and then Oscar Isaac's just straight up being like, "No." So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So it'll be interesting to see where Star Wars goes from here. I mean, obviously, in terms of new Star Wars content, besides The Mandalorian, we're not going to start seeing anything new, and you know, until over. It's going to be kind of something that's developed over the next few years. But yeah, I'm keen. I'm
Star
keen for a
Wars
Taika
is
Waititi Star Wars
honestly,
movie.
this is the brightest future I have seen Star Wars had in my lifetime, which is
Yeah, it'll be
amazing
interesting to see how it plays
considering,
out.
when the
Considering,
sequel trilogy finished, everyone was like, "Oh, good, Star Wars is dead," and now they've finished on season
compare
7.
that to the hype that surrounded the Force Awakens.
I know everyone was so excited, and then we get episode 9, and we're like, "Cool, Star Wars is dead now." But then Mando
Yeah.
comes out,
But
Clone Wars
then
comes out,
Mandalorian comes out, Clone Wars comes
and
out, and it just
everyone's like,
shows
"Oh
that
shit."
no, Star Wars is not
When
dead.
the Skywalkers aren't
You know?
involved, we can actually enjoy this again.
Yeah. So I'm pretty keen to see what
So am
happens
I.
next. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Well,
But on that note, I think we
this
should
very
wrap it
short,
up.
light and breezy episode is
Yeah, it didn't end up being that, did it?
the beginning half. If you want light and breezy, is the beginning half. If you really want us to
Yeah.
knuckle down into the subject we said we were going to, damn straight we did
That's
it.
what.
I think this is the
Yeah.
most integrity we've had when talking about a subject.
Well, I think the thing is like I always time code everything, so you can always just go
That's
to this
good.
part of the podcast you want to listen
That's
to and
good.
not have to listen to the whole thing. It's great.
And to that one who
But anyway,
comments,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
It means a lot. Keep it up.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, so moving on. We're gonna wrap this up
Yeah.
now. So next episode, I will probably do The Last of Us.
Yep. So that should be fun.
I'm probably not going to replay it. I don't know if I'll have time,
I
but if I do have
reinstalled it,
time, I'll
so I
try and
probably will.
yeah. Well, I'll try and play maybe a bit of it if I can, just to kind of refamiliarize myself. But
Yeah.
we'll probably talk about that. Obviously, Last of Us Part 2 is coming out.
On the 19th.
Depending on when this is uploaded, it's very soon, or it's already come out. Who knows, really?
Man,
But yeah, and
Last of Us
hopefully
2
by the time
was
this
so good.
episode. Yeah,
Love
and hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I will have fixed the whole Spotify situation. So the episode should be up on Spotify, including all of the past several episodes that I've been uploading to YouTube. So you should be able to find it there. If not,
it is always
I'll
on
just
YouTube.
edit this bit out. I'll just edit this bit out. It's fine.
What's
We'll just pretend like it never happened.
what's
But yeah, other than that, that's what we've really got planned immediately. Of course, we'll talk about Last of Us Part 2 at a later stage, but yeah, we might just do another gaming episode. That sounds
Yeah,
exciting.
I've enjoyed a
But
couple of
yeah,
Star Wars episodes and now 40 minutes of Doctor Who. Um,
yeah. Yep. Um, Speaking of Doctor Who, I still haven't watched any further in season 2 since the last podcast. I haven't watched anything beyond the Impossible Planet and Satan Pin yet. I haven't even watched them yet. That's where I'm up to. But I'm working through it. We're going to work through it slowly, and then maybe sometime within the next year or so, we might be able to do our Doctor Who
yep,
ranking
we
episode.
may
We'll see.
have an update for you later, people.
Yeah. Who knows? I might smash through 12 seasons between now and the next episode. I highly doubt it, though.
Like potentially less than a month to more than a month.
Yeah. But yeah, this has been great. It's been great to be back doing this.
Yep.
And
Thanks for listening,
in
everyone.
yeah, and in terms of the channel, if you're watching this on YouTube, I do other videos. You can find them on the channel. They're everywhere. I don't know if the Eternity Clock video definitely will not be out by the time this video comes. This podcast is released, but I am working on a new video. I've taken a bit of a break the last month, but I've got some stuff coming, so stay tuned for that.
If you find out about the Eternity Clock video through this video, make sure you watch that. There'll be a shout out back to this video.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, it'd be great. But yeah, and of course you can find the podcast on Spotify as well.
Up to 3 at the moment.
Up to episode 3, but hopefully, like I said, by the time this is released, there should be all of them on there, hopefully. You can find that there as well. In terms of social medias, as always, Lewin doesn't have any. You can follow my... Up. Well, I have a film account, which is just focused more on the filmmaking side of things, which is Be White Film. That's kind of my more personal one. I also have a gaming account, which is Rebel Croft over on Instagram. And I've just recently, as of when we're recording this, started up a Turning Point Entertainment Instagram as well. However, I haven't posted anything on that because I am working on some content plans for that, but that has been created, so links to all of those will be in the description below, and no Twitter or anything like that because I don't use it, so it is what it is. But yeah, anyway, Lewin, take us out.
Thank you for listening, everybody. I've run out of TV channels to use as a joke. I ran out of them about 5 episodes ago.
Nice.
So, I hope everyone has a good morning, evening, night, whatever day you're part of the day you're in.
It is now dark.
For us, it is night.
Since we started recording this episode, it went from being daytime to nighttime.
I can see the moon in the sky now. I used to be able to see the sun. Interesting things have been happening while we've been recording.
Yeah.
But whatever time of day it is, whether you're in flux like us or whether you're stuck in a single point, enjoy your time, and thank you very much for listening. That is probably the most sincere I will ever get doing this.
Also, go download Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh yeah, by the way, we're sponsored by Raycon as well now. Have a good night.